All right, well, it's time to jump on into our first series. It's time to jump into our first semi-final here at the Los Angeles Unified Western Live Championship. It's Team SoloMid against Immortals, and these two teams, absolute contenders for the trophy. And you've got the other side later on, but we're already into draft. We're ready and raring to get this one underway. Lance is going to be banned, Grace will follow, and Krull as a first pick for TSM.
Yeah, this is a very interesting. They already switched up their draft. They actually banned Krull all 3 games yesterday on the second phase of the ban. So they're actually first picking the Krull. That will give Immortals the cap, and that's why they banned the Lance, because Lance is such a good counter into Krull.
And look at the amount of captains that have been taken off the board already. Lance, Lyra, Catherine, and Grace all removed. There's Batiste gone as well. TSM, they're running out of available picks.
Yeah, and Immortals now have the opportunity to grab an Idris if they'd like, with the Catherine on their side already. I mean, they don't even need to grab it here, though, because with having Catherine, it's not likely that Team SoloMid would be looking to grab an Idris. So they're going to grab themselves Glaive, another one of those hard engaged type of heroes that's going to be roaming the jungle.
Wow, I mean, a lot of potential captains have been taken off the map too. Batiste could be played as captain, Glaive could be taken captain. So this leaves TSM with an option to go with potentially Celeste, Finn, or Arden. You know, there's not a lot of captains left. Or they could try something innovative with Fortress.
I was going to say Fortress could have been an option with the Krull, but it is going to be Arden locked on in. This is something we've seen the North American teams really start to pick up here at this championship. And TSM going to be happy to go with that one alongside Von C's Krull. And now they've got to pick their laner. Celeste still available, Scarf as well. There's a lot of different directions they can go here.
Yeah, I feel like they have to go either Celeste or Scarf. Obviously, you know, you would like to get an Idris because of how strong he is, but you don't want to run that into a Glaive Catherine. Maybe the Scarf, I think, would be the best option because he has a little bit of extra ability to keep himself alive,
Celeste.
But they're going to run the Celeste.
That's pretty smart because giving Celeste to Immortals with a Glaive and Catherine, that's a triple stun combination. So I think Immortals here will probably go with a Scarf, potentially. They can also go with a CP Idris, but I think Scarf looks exceptionally good right now given the composition of TSM.
Yeah, and you can see TSM kind of going for one of these lock-up compositions. You don't have as much CC with the Arden, but certainly the Krull and the Celeste, you can chain those stuns together, and if you can land a good gauntlet, you can turn it into more.
Or is there a chance that Immortals ends up going with the Adagio? No, there isn't, because they're going to grab the Scarf. It was a thought, you know, Dienzio looked so good with it the other day. But the Scarf is another one of Dienzio's sort of signature picks when it comes to live events.
And maybe keeping that Adagio in his pocket for later. We'll have to wait and see as the day goes on. But we have the Celeste versus Scarf matchup. I feel like this matchup has been kind of the pinnacle of lane matchups across the course of this weekend, and it feels like a very even matchup and very much a skill-based matchup.
Yeah, for sure, and this is something that TSM needs to overcome because when they faced Zio's Scarf at Worlds, he took 2 games off them. So this is something, have they adapted now? It's been a while since Worlds, but it'd be very interesting to see how they adapted to Scarf here. All
right, well, we'll see how they're going to be able to adapt. It's time to get our semi-finals underway. It's time for TSM going up into Immortals.
The moment has arrived, Fuji. Immortals versus TSM. I have been looking forward to this one.
I mean, I don't even have words to describe this. We got to cast Immortals yesterday. We get to do it again and against the #1 seed, the one everyone thinks is going to take us home.
All right, well, we are quickly right into the fold and ready to go. We have a couple powerhouse compositions, a couple powerhouse teams. Mind, body, and soul, I am ready to go.
I'm really excited to see Dienzio on this Scarf again. This was such a power pick for them yesterday. It was almost just the matchup of the mages, but we are going to see it here too with TSM picking up the Celeste. We have 2 front lines on each team. This is going to be wild.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Zio Max Green moving over here early on. T-Tiger should move in with a level advantage at any point, and they'll have to be careful about that. Best Chuck Flash X playing this one careful as Von C just takes a nice safe rotation of his own.
Yeah, they definitely do need to be careful. We see Flash starting with the Protector contract, Dragon Blood on Max Green, so a little bit of a different variation in starting strategy here. There isn't going to be a lot of healing coming out of Immortals, so any damage that comes down from TSM, any major blow is going to force them back to shop. Or they're going to have to get this
starting
over.
up the Elder Tree, and he's going to sniff out the rotation down here. It looks like T-Tigers will pull it back to his own side. Will this be our actual first skirmish down in the jungle? Both of these teams playing a little bit of games. Max Green moves with the stun. The Vanguard comes out onto Von C. Couple weakness stacks starting to come out. Yeah, a lot of Dragon Blood contract damage. Von C, he's going to go down. This is going to be actually going to Max Green. First blood for Immortals.
Oh my goodness, you cannot go in that far. Too much damage from the Elder Treant. Max Green is going to get chased back down into the jungle to go just to make sure they secure this. Really huge pickup here for Immortals. Unfortunately, first gold does go over to Max Green, but that's okay. We're going to get out of Fountain faster, Humanist. We're going to make things work out.
Hey, with a player like Max Green, I think I'm okay with the gold going over his way. Now, Fuji, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first Protector contract we've seen in this championship?
I honestly believe that we've only seen it once before, but the effectiveness of the Protector contract with Arden is actually quite... Like, the way you work it out is you want to make sure you alternate it with your Vanguard, so you keep as much barrier up as often as possible, but we talked about it, there's not a lot of healing coming out from either team, so we don't have Lyra sustain, we don't have Adagio, there's no Grace. So a lot of these moves these guys are going to be making early game, they need to be quick, they need to be decisive, or they're going to end up getting pushed out of the lane, and they might lose a turret because of it.
I mean, I think it's actually really interesting with the Kroll as well, with the Dead Man's Rush in there, getting a little bit of barrier for himself. That's really cool.
Yeah, barrier everywhere, all around. Vanguards can be saved for Celeste, most likely, if they're on the peel path. Otherwise, if Kroll's going in, the Vanguard will certainly help him stick to his target. But we'll have to find out quickly who their focus is going to be.
Ooh, a sneaky T-Tigers finds the Afterburn, and that's Von C getting erased out of the fold right there. Immortals up 2-0.
You cannot just solo pull Elder if you do not have the ability to get out. He actually didn't have rotation priority either. Immortals able to come down while TSM is stuck in the lane as a 3v1 rotation, in fact. Questionable for TSM. We applaud them a lot for their map awareness, their ability to hold their own side, but if they're getting pushed out of lane, somebody's got to tell Von C, get out of there, man.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, we saw Flash X. We see that scout trap right below him there. That is kind of showing when the rotations happen, but it wasn't revealing what's happening in the brush. Now, we see Celeste stunned up. Best Chuck taking a lot of damage, but the Vanguard keeping him in fighting shape.
Yeah, the Dragon Blood damage proc is quite a lot, but no one to really finish him off. C says, hello T-Tigers, this is my brush.
Hello, I am here. I am ready to start taking you down. It's gonna be stunned up. Max doing a good job. Von C Afterburn, a lot of damage. Dragon Blood contract propped up. Flash X, is he gonna be caught as well? Immortals, seemingly, you can't stop these guys early on here.
I mean, we're seeing the strength we always talk about with this Catherine being able to instantly stun on demand. Reflex blocks are not out, you cannot stop the stun. The lockdown on top of the goop, comboed with the Afterburn into the wall. Even Kroll cannot survive that scenario.
Do you think this is more of a decision-making thing out of Von C? Is he waiting to itemize where he can actually start to deal with that?
I actually think it's just more of a matter of he's just being too aggressive. They have a scaling carry in Celeste, and right now Flash X feels like he has to protect Best Chuck, right? He's got to stay in the lane. The pressure coming out, the potential Afterburn gangs coming out is forcing a lot of attention up in lane. Von C cannot afford to keep pushing in this deep, to keep putting himself in positions so dangerous.
Now, some nice scout traps down from Max will reveal exactly how Von C is rotating through the jungle right now. He's actually on the front of Immortals, and T-Tigers is going to sniff this out. I don't know if he wants to play games or move up into the lane. He's actually scouted out Von C, empowered. These guys just kind of poking back and forth. They are so similar in their play style.
They really are. I love the fact Von C is willing to go into the brush to get the empower. Yeah. He's just staring T-Tigers in the eyes.
It really was like, who's going to blink first?
Yes, exactly. There was a bit of a level advantage at the time. T-Tigers was level 6, but obviously the one-on-one, everyone knows Kroll is king of that scenario.
We'll see how this Kroll can have an impact in the game as we start to move on. Now, Von C does have his ultimate available. That's a big power spike for him. Are you seeing any other power spikes across the map that we should keep our eyes on?
I mean, we definitely want to keep an eye on this tension bow finish coming out of Von C. Frostburn's been completed, so that's going to help a lot with slowing down the ability for Scarf to escape the gauntlet that will be coming out fairly soon in a few minutes as well. I like the idea with the core collapse being able to drop, the gauntlet coming down, and from Hell's Heart, we're going to actually see quite a lot of momentum going towards that backline of Immortals. T-Tigers got to shake it up though. He's going to have to get in with the Afterburn and make sure DNZO doesn't get popped.
We'll see if Von C is waiting to potentially throw an ultimate. There are reflex blocks out. Max walks right into the brush, starts to get lit up with the Afterburn on to Best Chuck. Best Chuck turns it around with the core collapse of his own. T-Tigers taking a lot of damage, takes us down. TSM finding a kill, getting themselves on the board.
That is the counter gank you need to set up. It's not always about making the first move, it's about making the right move. TSM says, you know what, we're gonna look for this Afterburn. We feel T-Tigers is there. They might have actually caught vision of him going into the top brush. Hell's Heart comes out, locks down Glade, we get the core collapse we talked about, and that's kill over to TSM.
I really like that there. And did T-Tigers actually have his own reflex block? I know Max and Dienzio did.
He does now.
He does now. I guess that's the important thing. Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Yeah, unfortunately not available to be able to lock out of that CC, but ability power spike, something we don't always talk about too often, focused on items, are coming up as well. Team-wide silence coming out of Max Green. Oh,
Afterbird stuck against the turret there. Best shot taking a whole bunch of damage. He's down. Flash couldn't keep him alive with the Vanguard there, and the Fountain still ticking down. It's going to be coming up just right now, and that really hurts to see.
That must have been a timing thing from Immortals. They used Fountain at the same time during the last team fight. Flash, you gotta get out of there, buddy.
Uh-oh, Flash, you are in a tough place. Von C will make the rotation up, down from the jungle here. He's gonna clear up some of these lane minions for himself. I'm sure he likes that, but Best Chuck kind of feels bad, man.
Oh, I love the fact that Flash X knew he was able to stay in front of the turret. If he had left, if he was too afraid to defend, they would have taken the objective hands down, but that was just enough to stall, move the minion damage over to Arden instead of the turret as well, and that distraction that saves the first objective. So nothing major gained, even though Immortals is in the lead. They have quite a bit of gold lead for almost 8 minutes in, but both turrets still stand. The teams are still playing quite safe.
Fuji, I want you to break down for us the kind of difference in the itemization coming out of Best Chuck versus Dienzio. We see the Eve into the Broken Myth here. On the flip side, he's got the Frostburn for himself going into the Eve.
Yeah, I don't feel like Dienzio right now feels like he wants to have that slow. He just wants to be able to sustain as long as possible. We hit on it before, right? There is no sustain coming from Immortals, so the Eve is the closest thing he's going to be able to get to be in the lane, to not have to go home. He has the energy regen, he has the ability to get lifesteal on those goop pulls during the team fight. So I like to pick up. Broken Myth is finished now, so at this point it's just a preference a lot of times for what they go afterwards. Shatterglass for a lot of damage, Frostburn for slow. We'll have to see what he decides to do. I imagine Clockwork is a guaranteed item at some point.
Yeah, it probably is going to be coming out for sure as we approach the late game. Von C, we see him level 9 now, kind of getting himself powered up with the left tri-brush there. As Immortals start to apply a little bit of pressure here in the lane. Von C will move up. T-Tiger sees it. The Gauntlet's going to come down, blocked off by Zio. But a two-man stun as they walk right into the wall. Max Green able to block off the core collapse as Immortals just go ahead and walk right out of that one.
I'm actually a little bit confused why Von C did not throw it. Well, he's just going to stick around and hold on here a little bit. But he had an opportunity when the Gauntlet came down because of the angle that he was walking up. He could have thrown from Hell's Heart beyond the Gauntlet wall on the other side of the team and walked behind them. So it would have ran into the Gauntlet wall and they would have had a maximum duration stun. So perhaps he's being a little bit too defensive holding that ability. The cooldown's not really long enough to want to not use it as soon as it's available.
Yeah, I could see though potentially being a little bit behind in the game, and not much, right? But maybe just you want to have that perfect throw on the ultimate, but that can definitely hurt you.
It can hurt you, but the burst coming out of Von C, because Dienzio does not have any armor, as well as T-Tigers being under-farmed by comparison in CS, actually equates his ability to be effective in that specific moment. But yes, in a team fight versus team fight, TSM still needs to be careful in that 3v3 setup.
I'm looking at Flash X. He's got his Crucible up now. And on the flip side, Max Green has his own. He has that Blast Tremor ready to go, and I think that's a huge tool. As long as Max can get that down, it looks like he could be going into Echo as his next item, which wouldn't be a surprise at all and be a huge pickup for them, actually. These guys really starting to try and take a fight here.
Ooh, turrets on the burn in the back there. Barrier is going to come back up to save it, though, but whoa, here we go.
It's actually reflex a little bit too late. Zio getting lit up here. Von C moves in. He wants Zio. He's going to find him. Solar Storm let loose. And Immortals, they're going to lose their carry.
Yeah, you got to block from Hell's Heart. You have to be preemptive, expect it. If you do not block it, there's so much follow-up CC available from TSM. I like the fact they pulled the trigger. They did not have Gauntlet available, but they still feel confident.
Another afterburn in. Best Chuck, he gets the Vanguard. Should keep him alive just enough to move back. Think Flash X later for that one, buddy. Max Green doing his best. I mean, I thought Best Chuck was dead on that one.
I did too, but I love the fact that Von C's like, guys, come on, chill out. I'm taking the gold mine. We want the payout here. We want to equate this gold to difference the best we can. But now we're at 1,000 gold difference game, Humanist. Things are looking a lot better for TSM, using the patience, using that from Hell's Heart to grab the kill. This is the TSM we were expecting to show up after a little bit of a rough start.
Cool, calm, and collected. That's going to be the turret going down, though. Zio doing a very good job just to get those Spitfires in consistently.
Yeah, I definitely want to give props to Zio on that, but of course I have to question why Von C is invading the jungle when your first turret objective is so close to going down. Honestly, it's not worth it. Let them take their own treant, but protect your first objective. TSM doesn't have any damage on the first turret, so they have a lot of momentum. They're going to have to push back to be able to get map advantage.
How does this change the game for TSM now?
In a big way, it makes it so the fact that they cannot have Celeste safely farming forward. It makes their rotation slower. She doesn't have any movement abilities other than a boot active and just walking herself. So to get to a team fight, she's now going to be further away from that point of safety. Makes it a little bit scary considering all the lockdown. And we saw what T-Tigers was able to do with afterburn rotations yesterday.
Right.
So if he can get those off today on Celeste in the same way, that's a tough spot for TSM.
I think it also means, you know, vision, it becomes increasingly more important. FlashX only holding flares because of that protector contract. He doesn't have a slot to actually put scout traps in right now. Von C eating some Spitfires, body blocking for Best Chuck, making his way up to the top rush there. Max throwing flares of his own, making sure that they're not going to be caught by surprise.
Stun
Getting
lands.
a little stun there. The Spitfire, nice afterburn. The Gauntlet is down. Best Chuck, he is going to be able to get away, but Zio channels up that Dragon's Breath, burning Von C down. Von C's in. It's going to be Best Chuck finding the first kill. Max has got clean to stack. They turn it. They take Von C down. A nice flash trigger. A nice silence coming through. Flash on the run. Flash should be dying here. He gives that Vanguard the goop, but it's not going to be burning another Spitfire. Max doing his best, but it's not enough. Best Chuck lighting them up, and Helio cleans them up. Best Chuck in A, making the clockwork go to town. Zio, you're in a bad place, my friend. Rest in peace, double kill coming through. Best Chuck turning up.
Best Chuck with the quick feet sidestepping the goop pull so he doesn't get immediately deleted. This is a game of maximums, minimums. I can't believe how close that team fight was. Chuck almost died right off of the bat. We see the afterburn we were looking for, but they just weren't able to follow up on the kill. Like, look at that health bar.
Oh my goodness.
One other hit would have gone in. The first silent goes out successfully here, but then the Max Ring gets the echo off, gets the second silence in, which you can see TSM was perhaps not quite ready for, going on the back foot here. This honestly looked really dire for TSM, but props to Best Chuck for being able to stay in the fight, drop Helios, get the core collapse down. Even the block was not quite enough to take FlashX down in this replay.
A whole bunch of damage starting to come out of the Celeste right now. We see Best Chuck moving in towards that Broken Myth now. He's going to have this up in the next couple minutes here. It's going to get even more dangerous for Immortals. Immortals have a lot of damage of their own.
Yeah, we see the clockwork finishes on both of the mages. This is essentially Mage Wars right now that we're watching. Mage Wars inside of Vainglory. I love this, though. What is it? It's just Helios and Spitfires, Helios and Spitfires. Everyone's trying to dodge every skill shot, and you see the front lines of each team. They're just trying to decide, when do we go in? What is our execution point?
There's the War Trap, the Gauntlet. That's when you go. Zio, he winds up with the Dragon's Breath. Let's see if they can block off the damage right here. Everybody taking a whole bunch of damage, but Zio, you're in a bad place. This is Von C trying to stick right onto the Scarf. A lot of weakness stacks are up. Chuck doing his best. He survives. He gets away from T-Tigers. T-Tigers in with the afterburn.
On the scout trap.
A scout trap cleaning up the kill. And Max Green should be left for dead. He's going to use his boots to try and juke out of this one, but I don't think you actually get away from Von C at this point. There's the sun. T-Tigers, the afterburn. They got away, making the plays now. Tiggs, I know you want to defend that Crystal Sentry, but they make the call not to go in there.
Yeah, he has to go back. He doesn't have enough energy to combo Afterburn with anything else.
Von C, Flash hanging around here. They move in. Tiggs taking a whole bunch of damage, has the Afterburn. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, he picks up that Treant, gets enough energy to get out of there, but wow, what a Max. Max Green just giving the stun out on Von C. Stacks the green, making it work here at 25, Captain of the Guard. You know what I love about this team fight, though, is we saw TSM's focus. Kill the Dragon, kill Scarf, kill Zio. He has to go down no matter what. In fact, T-Tigers was just auto-attacking Celeste in the back for half of the team fight. Chuck just didn't care. They knew they have to take the Scarf down or else they lose the team fight. But props for T-Tigers finding the kill anyway, using the scout trap to that advantage, and picking up the kill on Best Chuck.
You know, of course TSM are going to adapt to whatever Immortals do, but it does make me feel that Tiggs has the potential to build into a little bit more offense if they're focusing Zio down so much in these fights.
Yeah, I definitely think this is true, but you know that he's not going to, right? Like, he's going to finish his Aegis, he's going to upgrade his boots, and he's going to say, team, you have to protect me. We have Catherine, you've got to lock them down. We have Echo. In fact, perhaps it's even best to just Echo, Merciless Pursuit, get 2 stuns on top of the goop. That's the dream.
Oh my goodness, that is a dirty, dirty play if they can pull that one off. Immortals doing a good job thus far. We're 6-6, 16 minutes in. This one is so close. Vaughn C, he's empowered in the bottom brush there. Had the slow on to take first blast trimmer is going to come through. I believe he echoed it off the afterburn. A nice stun. They cancel off the gauntlet from Hill's Heart. Will land on the T-Tigers, but it's Vaughn C onto the DNZO Solar Storm. Connects on the T-Tigers. The fountain comes out. Second blast trimmer silences up Vaughn C. The chase is on. DNZO dropping low, takes over the wall. They block off the afterburn. Crystal Sentry's in the fight. He wants up. Spitfire's out. Oh, the Dragon Breath. Broken miss stacks. Just burning TSM down. And it looks like that's all they're going to go for, but Immortals winning a fight that TSM had engaged on.
Humanist, we only had one death in that entire team fight. That's insane. The way these teams are playing, they're actually using every ability to its maximum potential. The first blast trimmer going off, getting the stun, canceling out the this gauntlet would have landed right on top of Zio. Would have been perfect for the entire team for Immortals to be locked down. But Vaughn C, super hungry for the kill here. I have to question though, they could have called him back. They could have immediately taken T-Tigers down, but instead they're going for the kill on Scarf, not able to get it, even with the Vanguard and the turnaround here. DNZO having Dragon's Breath still available. TSM not quite calculating this. They're able to take down Kroll. They're able to take down, well, Best Chuck. That core collapse right there, not really going to lend them anything, but the nerves are up even for these teams.
This is incredibly close. We're approximately 18 minutes into this one. Look at the net worth. I mean, this is so close. This can really go either way. We knew coming into this one, of course, TSM would be one of the top teams. A lot of expectations for Immortals to come out and perform. I think after seeing them day one, day two, we knew that they were going to stack up well. But this is closer than I think a lot of people imagined.
Speaking of stacks, I have to say that the decisive nature of these team fights has to be impeccably on point. You cannot let one mage get too much poke. Because when Broken Myth starts stacking up, they immediately start getting an advantage. So there has to be either an immediate engage or an immediate retreat. We can already see, like Best Chuck, he's at 3, DNZO's at 0. Immortals makes the call to back up.
I think it's really interesting. I don't know if we touched on this. The Aegis out of Flash X as well as the Crucible. Do you like that?
I like it. I mean, Flash X is going to be trying to frontline a lot of the damage from the Scarf. He's going to need that shielding to stay alive, especially since Scarf is now finished Frostburn as well. 4-item offensive on both mages. This is exactly where they want to be. 18 minutes into the game. This feels a little bit like a flashback for Immortals yesterday. This is where they turned it up. This is where they took the games every single time to take the series. If they're going to be able to repeat it here today, I bet we'll see something here very soon. Kraken on the board. No one's really tried anything around it yet, but wow, these teams, they're just playing out of their minds.
I mean, this is the call right now. We also see Vaughn C has a reflex and an Aegis of his own. Gauntlet down from Flash. A nice job. He used his Aegis so he wasn't canceled off. Blast Trimmer's going to come down. I believe they blocked that one off, though. Zio was trapped inside the gauntlet, but they did such a good job to protect him there.
Wow, the engage was good, but the disengage was also well done. The Blast Trimmer is still available. It was echoed, so they have to be careful about this. TSM
from Hell's Heart's going to connect on to Max Green. I don't know if they should actually go into the engage. This is going to be Vaughn C overstepping himself, taking too much damage. The Fountain did come out to keep him alive, but he's crit down. Zio able to find the kill. Now Dragon's Breath roasting TSM. A double kill coming through. A triple kill. DNZO.
We talked about it. Let's go, boys. Right now is when Immortals made the play yesterday. They make the plays again. They take advantage of what seemingly was just a really bad shot call coming from TSM. From Hell's Heart, yes, it landed, but not on a target that's meaningful for you to try to take down. Vaughn C going in to try to follow up on that.
His team too far behind as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're too far behind in terms of distance.
Yeah,
even. Like, I mean, Vaughn C is just like, he hits the boots, he goes in, he goes for the back line, but the stun from Max Green just locking him down. He's not able to actually get to the target he needs to.
Okay.
Here comes the still attempt.
Solar Storm coming through. Of course, we all wanted to see it. But how does this change things for TSM? How do they have to play this out, this defense here?
I mean, the defense is so tough. So Celeste, she's one of the best at defending during pushes into the base. That being said, Scarf is one of the best objective-taking heroes in the game. So with Kraken pushing on the front lines, he can actually safely sit behind, drop Goops underneath the turret, get some safe max distance Spitfires off. He's never really in danger of getting jumped on as long as he doesn't get out of position. So TSM's gonna have to do one of two things. They're gonna make the call. We defend, take Kraken down as much as we can, but without this choke point turret, I really think they have to fight early.
Well, let's see. This is the point where we would see them potentially make an engage if it's going to happen. Flash, what's the call, buddy? Has the gauntlet. He is the captain of this team, making the shot calls. Best Chuck doing his best to apply damage. T-Tigers looking for a window of opportunity. Max lands the first blast. Tremor, he's going to move in, finds the stun onto Flash. Was able to actually echo that. Gauntlet's going to come through. Flash is there. T-Tigers able to afterburn backwards. Zeo kind of caught right there. Found keeping him alive, but it's Vontae back in. They've taken out the Dragon. Moving in, looking for more. Almost taking T-Tigers down. They get him. Best Chuck coming through, finding the damage. Immortals losing 2. TSM will stay alive here in game 1.
A risky play by Immortals to not expect that engage. It seemed like they were kind of caught off guard by it. The first blast trimmer goes down. They get the silence. Max goes in, stuns them up, but then they need to back up. You have to know that that is the cue for TSM to re-engage. In fact, I'm actually kind of surprised TSM wasn't able to actually just lose straight up. Solar Storm actually went wide. Core Collapse didn't land. We didn't get the best follow-up there from Von C either, but the damage was just still too much from these Helios stacking up. I mean, you can see in the team fight, just barely clipping Zeo. Von C getting on top of him inside the gauntlet. Zeo able to unescape. So that was just an incredible turnaround play that TSM absolutely needed.
Yeah, I found it really interesting that Zeo chose not to move outside of that gauntlet when they had the Crucible up, and he had his boots active, I believe, as well. But either way, that's a TSM finding a fight, you know, maybe finding a little bit of momentum for himself. Technically, they are up in net worth right now.
They are up in net worth, and this is one of the risks, is if you push with Kraken and you don't finish the game that far into the base this late, the death timers are long. If they take Kraken, that's 1,500 gold. If they take Turret, that's another 900 gold into the pockets of TSM. So these guys are now feeling much wealthier than they were before. You just saw Max Green. He had a second set of boots there for a moment. Wasn't sure what those were going to be used for, but he sold them off, bought 5 flares. Definitely the best decision he could have made.
Thinking about it. I like the double boots, but hey, Max knows the vision is important. Max moves in. He's going to find the stun onto Von C. From Hell's Heart connects on the T-Tigers. Zeo able to get outside of that gauntlet. A defensive afterburn coming from T-Tigers to disengage. Solar Storm not the one they wanted, but the Dragon's Breath coming through. It will start to burn TSM. Immortals chasing, looking for T-Tigers coming in from the bottom. Von C powered up. Moving in, he's going to get onto Max Green. Max Green, the target with the reflecting a lot of damage and afterburn. Knocks Best Chuck back. The chase is on. Helios there. Helios will come out of Max to keep his team in fighting shape. Zeo doing his best to land these, but he has to be careful of the Heliogenesis, the Supernova from Best Chuck zoning out the Scarf here. Both of these teams just playing so incredibly well. Max wants the stun, but he's playing with fire. Von C right back in, gets the Vanguard onto Max. These guys in and out, zigging, zagging, just in and out of these fights. This is beautiful to watch.
I can't. These team fights are absolutely amazing. Everybody's using every ability the best they can. Their actives are on point. They're blocking almost anything that's available to block at the time. We're actually having team fights so long we're getting blocks back up again in order for them to be able to take out something. This core collapse, this from Hell's Heart, there's just so many things for these teams to think about, but what an impressive display of engage and disengage coming out of both teams there underneath the turret. TSM playing with a little bit of fire. If they lose a team fight, it's game over.
Yeah, absolutely. GG. We may have the engagement happening right here, right now. Flares are out from both teams. They know what's happening. Max Green, 50 stacks on the captain of the guard. This guy's tanky. Gauntlet's going to come down, blocked off. Zeo able to get back. T-Tigers, one more time, a defensive afterburn. Atlas not landing from TSM the way they would have liked. From Hell's Heart, onto T-Tigers, core collapse, the combo. Tinks is going to go down. Solar Storm ripping through Immortals. Max Green, he's in a tough place, holding his fountain. Has the Echo as well. That's going to be the Storm Guard triggered off. Zeo trying to land the Spitfires. Can he drop a goop as well? Von C dropping low. TSM taking 2 here, a massive win here in the late game.
I love the fact that Max Green actually echoed his Storm Guard to try to survive on that escape, just using whatever he can to try to get out of there. But what's most important, the thing we want to watch about this team fight is when Gauntlet went down, yes, T-Tigers was able to escape. Yes, Zeo was able to escape, but what Best Chuck does is he uses the opportunity to stack up his Broken Myth here. He's just getting autos, getting solar, or actually Heliogenesis down on Catherine. Just enough time for them to make the call here to go all in on whatever target squishy and close. And that Solar Storm just rips through T-Tigers and not able to get out of that one.
I also want to compliment Flash's flare. I mean, it seems so simple, but throwing that flare to make sure that nobody's hiding, waiting in the wings that's going to catch you by surprise when you move in to engage on your opponent. Really a thing of beauty. It looked like Immortals were about to end this game a couple minutes ago. The script has been flipped. TSM now on the push.
I mean, this is exactly what you can't have happen if you're in the lead, if you're pushing with Kraken and Scarf against another team. But TSM saying they're going to back up a little bit here. They want Kraken to get on top of the turret before they are close. They need to be careful. Flash is going to look for a gauntlet over the wall right here. Perhaps Humanist is going to be their best chance of engage. Here it goes.
Gauntlet over the wall, you called it! Fuji, Flash X locking them down. CO doesn't want to get out of this one. Kraken's still pretty healthy, but this is Immortals looking for a potential engage. T-Tigers finds the afterburn onto Vonsi. Vonsi burning down.
Second
the
Blast
second
Tremor.
Blast Tremor coming through. Here's your Dragon's Breath. It should burn the Curl down. It's burning Flash as well. It looks like Immortals are doing this. If they take Flash, odds are this is going to be their game. Best Chuck, can he do it? We have to see the most legendary plays I've ever seen out of this guy here. They block off the core collapse. The Helios are there, but this is going to be TSM dropping to Immortals here in game 1. 26, approximately 27 minutes into this one. Immortals, GG.
When you go in for the big play underneath the turret, you got to have an escape plan. Immortals didn't have theirs. TSM did not have theirs. Each team pays huge. Immortals takes the game.
Immortals takes the game with style. That feels so good for Immortals right now. TSM realizing, okay, this is going to be maybe a little tougher than we thought. These guys are pretty much in the zone right now.
In the zone, indeed, Humanist. What a treat we have here in the first semifinal matchup of the day. Immortals going up one game. Whew, feels good for them.
This could be one of the most exciting series I think I've ever had the opportunity to actually be here casting, and great to be here casting with you. You predicted that gauntlet over the wall. Definitely something that Flash X was going to be looking for, a way to, catch your opponents off guard. It wasn't quite enough to find the victory for them there. Immortals looking good. Munchables and our analysts, what a thing of beauty.
One of the best games of Vainglory I have ever seen. The team fighting from both of these squads on a level we have yet to see this weekend. I feel like I've said that multiple times, but it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, every single series just seems to improve upon the last, and this one is no different. Absolutely incredible play. I mean, those team fights were so back and forth.
Yeah.
There was one team fight that felt like it lasted about 3 minutes of just constant fighting with no one actually dying because both teams were playing it so well.
Yeah, we actually have replays of that team fight as well. This was just the intricacies in these fights, the mechanics on both sides, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it really came down to who comboed their win conditions better. If TSM comboed the Celeste stun with a Crow stun, they won. If Immortals comboed the Cat stun with the Glaive Afterburn and the Scarf Coop, they won. And we saw that in the early game, actually. And Zio was actually ahead of Chuck by 20 CS. And then TSM turned it around. They were down 3K gold versus Immortals. And then TSM makes a crazy play, comes back, and then they're ahead in gold. So the game could have gone either way, and it came down to that very last fight.
And you can see this moment at the end here. Max Green so desperately wants to re-engage, but he knows a single little overstep in these kind of fights will lose you the game. They were already 23 minutes in. You can't afford to lose a fight that late on. And we saw towards the end of the game, it felt like TSM were going to run away with things. They managed to win a fight. They managed to get Kraken for themselves. And then that final fight between the two teams, Flashek engaging over the wall. This was the fight that netted TSM Kraken.
Yeah, this was crazy. The Afterburn and the Gauntlet, like Flash's Gauntlet actually saved Chuck so many times because of Glaive getting stunned from that Gauntlet. And then Celeste is able to survive long enough to take care of Zio. And you can tell both teams, or TSM is laser focused on Zio, but Immortals is focused, they're kind of split focus.
Yeah.
Zio is focusing on Cruel, and Tyler is focusing on Celeste. So I felt that's why they lost that fight there. But you can see when Immortals turned it around later game, and they fought as a unit, that's when they started winning those fights.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I mean, these were just some of the skirmishes that happened. But even when teams are taking advantages, like TSM took a sentry there, it's not a convincing team fight win.
Yeah, and we really only had a couple of very convincing fight wins. This one was one that really kind of started to set the pace and made us feel like it was going to be Team SoloMid that were going to be able to take this. They chased them down. They're forcing Immortals to have to blow a lot of different abilities to be able to stick around in these fights. But it was just Team SoloMid so close to closing this one out.
Yeah, look at these combos. In the early game, this is the story. They comboed so well and actually beat TSM in the early game. That's not easy to do against a team like TSM. And on top of that, they're able to shut Chuck down. So Zeo gets ahead on farm. You can see he's 10 CS ahead there. And they need to convert that, but TSM was then able to make such critical plays at the 14-minute mark with Flash X's Gauntlet. When they war treads and then engaged and then got Zeo, that was such a beautiful and decisive play by TSM.
And this was the moment that kept TSM in the game. They were so close. They were against the ropes at that point with Immortals having the Kraken. And then just a few minutes later, we saw the exact same scenario flipped on its head as TSM managed to get the next Kraken. Then they're the ones pushing in, and they're the ones that kind of overextended towards the end.
Yeah, it was a strange fight that they went for at the end with Kraken pushing in, which is even more strange that it was Team SoloMid that made this mistake, because pushing with Kraken is something that Team SoloMid is usually so incredibly well known for. We actually missed the very beginning of this fight when Flash X actually jumped in deep with the Gauntlet, and no one else from Team SoloMid really was there to follow him up. And once that Gauntlet was down, Immortals were just immediately ready to capitalize on that situation and take advantage.
In this game was a tale of two junglers, honestly. When T-Towers did not get a good afterburn and did not secure the kill on Chuck, TSM won. If Vonsi overextended and was just too aggressive and basically allowed Immortals to three-man focus him, TSM lost. And honestly, both captains played extremely well. And then Chuck and Zeo, it was a skill match, but I think Zeo wanted to, because Chuck did not land a lot of his Solar Storms. He needed to land those Solar Storms to win the fights.
Let's remember, this is DNZO on his Scarf as well. TSM has lost to DNZO's Scarf in the past. Could this be a situation? I mean, let me just point out the damage done number right there. 56,000?
Wow.
That is easily the highest number we have seen all weekend. 2,000 damage per minute. That is insanely high statistics, but you have to ask the question, does this Scarf have to start being a priority ban in this series for TSM? Because they're going to be having kind of flashbacks to last time they were losing games.
Yeah, it's the last time they faced Zeo at Worlds, they let Zeo take it away 2 games with his Scarf. So they really need to consider that, because this is a repeating storyline, and I think TSM needs to learn from history here, because Zeo, when he's on his comfort picks or his hero that he just excels with, he outplays Chuck.
Yeah, and let's remember as well that, you know, during the regular season, TSM actually had Immortals' numbers. So for Immortals to take the first game in this series and to have this advantage starting things off, it's going to be a great morale boost. It's going to be a good bit of momentum for Immortals coming on in. Lance going to be the first ban here.
Yeah, the first ban being that Lance taking it off the board, that big playmaker that can be flexed into multiple positions, but it's all about that lockdown, just trying to keep the lockdown off the board. Very surprising that Team SoloMid's going to ban away the Kroll, because I really don't feel like the Kroll is a hero that T-Tigers is going to be looking to play all that much.
Yeah, Crow is actually pretty dominant in the meta right now. You can see Vonsi making a lot of plays with it. So now they have 2 captains that are, I think, pretty equal. Grace and the Catherine is picked up. And now it's going to come down to who's going to get the Celeste, who's going to get the Glaive here. So I think Glaive and Baptiste will be banned. So TSM will not ban a Baptiste here and force a ban out from Immortals, and they'll probably take the Glaive with the Catherine.
They might even ban away the Scarf at this point just to remove that opportunity from Immortals, or that could be a pick that they look towards themselves just to try and deny, but they're going to go with the Black Feather.
Because Adagio is up. They don't want to give Immortals the Adagio Black Feather composition. So of course Baptiste has to be banned here. And let's see if TSM is going to take the Celeste, because if they do not take Celeste here, that's going to give it to Immortals. They're instead take the Glaive. So I think here Immortals, even though Cap is a counter, Celeste, giving TSM Celeste, Glaive, and Cap is a very strong triple stun combination.
There's definitely going to be some thought from Immortals on these next 2 picks, because obviously, you know, they may be still really feeling that Scarf train if they want to run that, but like we just said, you're going to have to be giving thought to, you're giving one of those 2 over to Team SoloMid. Which one would you rather have Best Chuck likely to be the one that plays it on? Do you want him on the Scarf or do you want him on the Celeste? I think you would much rather have Team SoloMid playing a Scarf.
Other options you can try is Koshka Grace, which shut down Glaive and Cath really hard, and play Vox and just snowball it and not let TSM get to the late game. However, the comp is still strong because Celeste, Glaive, and Cath have that triple stun combo, and it's really hard to play against if they lock down one of the carries in that position. So Immortals has to decide, you know, are they going to pick the Celeste here into the Catherine? Because if they pick Celeste, TSM has to play Scarf or CP Idris.
TP Idris looks like the pick to be watching out for here. Immortals going to lock that one in, and they only have just less than 30 seconds on the clock to figure out this final pick.
That's an interesting one because the Glaive and Catherine both do exceptionally well against an Idris with
power.
very likely to be weapon power with the Samuel coming through. This is very similar to what we were seeing in our Challenger Cup earlier today. Was this emphasis on the Samuel, trying to set up these plays with the Samuel, Grace, and the Idris.
Well, Celeste is going to be the final pick. Scarf not going to see the light of day in this one. TSM locking that mage in to round out their composition. We'll see how this Glaive Celeste combination is going to work. They certainly have that CC train to work with.
Yeah, this is very dangerous. I think TSM has a slightly better draft here. However, Samuel, along with Grace, is really good with the constant Frostburn slows to stop Cat from landing her Merciless Pursuit stun onto the enemy. So it's going to come down to who's going to be able to engage and get stacks off to force an error from the other side.
Yeah, you have to question Idris going into Catherine. Is that going to be a significant issue here for Immortals?
Yeah, it feels like the plan for Immortals here is that they want Team SoloMid to be focusing the Idris, get a lot of that crowd control burned, give him a divine intervention, and then re-engage.
All right, we'll see if they can pull it off. It's time to get into game number 2. Can TSM even things up, or are Immortals on a hype train right now? Let's pass it up to our casters and get into game number 2.
This series is full hype train. I am so excited to see what happens right here. I want to know, how's the crowd feeling? Are you guys hype about this matchup right now? Make some noise for these teams.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Crowd favorites coming up into the balcony. I'm excited. Humanist, are you excited?
Absolutely. This doesn't get any better than this. Right now, we're ready for game 2. TSM want to answer back and let Immortals know that they are here to take this series.
They are here to take this series, Humanists, and TSM does not want to drop another game. If they want to continue on to win in the grand finals, they need to have a dominant performance in this series.
Dominance performance needed indeed. Flash landing a little stun on to Max. Max playing some games. Of course, when we see this Grace, oftentimes when the boots come out, they're looking to just get in there and harass, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we also want to note that, Grace did lose a little bit of movement speed, but she's still super fast, super strong in the early game with the boots active available to her. It's mostly just a distraction, right? She can get in, she can steal a camp, great. If not, no big deal. She's just causing TSM to have to think about something else other than just farming.
Max doing his best, giving some vision there. T-Tigers level 2 has made his way up. Procking that Corrupted Genius now in the Drifting Dark. Malice is very best. Chuck eating a lot of damage. The Chakram connects as well. Flash really not having the ability to heal Best Chuck up. He can body block those if possible, but he wasn't in a key position to actually do so right there. Von C is going to walk right into Max Green. On the Afterburn back, they found Zeo. They're going to knock Zeo back. The damage, the Port Collapse to follow. A nice combo. Zeo's going to throw the Chakram, looking for the damage of his own. They're trading. Zeo takes him down. It's actually the first blood. Zeo will trade his life, but a nice job there, and he's able to pick up that kill and the extra gold.
Extra gold indeed. Max Green still not quite done. Trying to prove to Flash that he is the best captain in this matchup in this series. Even going in for some counter jungling. Max Green, this guy, showing up in this tournament, doing so many great things for Immortals.
Flash taking a whole bunch of damage, and that was the danger zone for Max as he gets caught right there. Vontae over the wall, finds the kill. I love the aggression out of these teams, Fuji.
I love the aggression. Sorry, Max, maybe a little bit of the caster curse there that we like to talk about.
I think you're starting to come into your own as a caster when the curse is actually followed through.
When it's live and well, but that is what happens if you do invade this early. The death timers are quite low. End up back on the map in a position, especially with Afterburn, to be able to pick you off, so even Grace cannot escape that.
Now it's going to be another Afterburn in. Fonzie knocking Zeo back, Core collapse, comboed up. Zeo taking a whole bunch of damage. You see Best Chuck booting forward, a very good job there. Zeo knows that he's down. TSM will go up 3-1 here in the 3-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, the early game for Idris is not super strong. He doesn't have a lot of mobility yet. He doesn't have his ultimate. He can't get in and out. He's not able to reset quite as effectively as he can in the late game, so you have to be very careful, right? Like, yes, we have Grace. Yes, she is going to have her heal later on, but as of right now, her ability to protect you is a bit slim.
You know what's different for me in this game is watching T-Tigers and Von C. In game 1, it was Kroll Glaive. A lot of times they're kind of canceling out what each other are trying to do here. T-Tigers is going to have a completely different play style this game.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think he will. I mean, and we also get to see a little bit of a different type of aggression coming out of Immortals in terms of, do they actually go in on the team fight? Do they choose Celeste as the target? I mean, Idris, he wants to dive, right? He wants to get to the back line. Samuel, he's just going to drop Drifting Dark and just pound the front line if they try to do anything other than block the damage for Best Chuck. I like the potential strategy here. Of course, that being said, Flash X on this Captain Catherine can lock down Samuel out of the Drifting Dark, so he loses a large portion of his damage. And honestly, that should be TSM's focus. If they get too caught up on this Idris, they will not be able to win the team fights. Samuel should be a primary point of focus for this team.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I was thinking, you know, Zeo seems to be their focus thus far. I think it's more about shutting him down in the lane, not allowing him to actually scale up, right?
Yeah, it's a change of focus. Early game, you definitely don't want to spend too much time against Samuel in the jungle. He doesn't really net you a whole lot. He is a bit slow to scale in terms of reaching a larger potential of power, because once he gets level 2, like, his power spike is just right then, right? He gets all those empowered Malice and Verdict. You just kind of have to deal with it. You don't really have a lot of ways to sustain it. Just make sure you dodge it out. But once we get into the mid and into the late game, the focus then goes from denying the ability from Idris to free farm to shutting down the Samuel, because he's not going to have a lot of defense.
T-Tigers is going to have to be careful. Of course, you got the afterburn from Von C. The stuns coming out of Flash. We'll have Flash landing nice silences, and you have to imagine he'll be going into the Echo. A nice stun backwards. This is going to be Max getting caught. Max getting taken down. I mean, Grace pretty tanky, but that looked too easy.
Yeah, a little too easy, but doesn't use the fountain. Wants to make sure he still has that available for the next team fight. Smart move. Wouldn't have saved his life even if he did. So I like the fact that he held on to that. But we do have fountains live on both teams. Celeste, Best Chuck picking up that Eve first item. Dienzio with the Sorrow Blade. Big power spike here for Idris. Allows him to no longer roll around. He gets the dash around instead.
Just rolling around.
Just rolling around. So I like the fact that we're hitting a couple power spikes across the map. We'll have to see how the teams want to use them, though. TSM doesn't really want to play too much on the back foot. They want to push their advantage, and that's what they're doing with this Glaive pick.
We see a lot of items coming out across the board. Tiggs has finished his Frostburn. That's going to be great for him. Best Chuck finishing the Eve. Everybody has, you know, there's fountains on both sides here. Von C has the Tension Bow complete. Anything that you're really noticing here?
Well, I noticed just that T-Tiggs actually beating his average for a tier 3 completion item. So that's good job, T-Tigers. Always looking to up your even personal PR here, but yeah, I mean, I just love the fact that we're seeing once again this kind of rotation into lane, protect the Celeste, make sure she can farm, make sure she can scale. It's incredibly important that Best Chuck does not fall behind. Otherwise, Idris is just going to be an absolute nightmare for him.
As far as the way Idris is going to itemize this game, how would we expect him to play it out from here?
I mean, you definitely want to see him go into some type of sustain, and most likely Serpent Shiv is kind of up there, right? We like to see the fact he's able to go in, you need attack speed because it's going to reset your A. You want to make sure when you're actually diving into the backline, you're constantly getting an auto attack in every chance you get. That's what he's doing now. We saw him pick up the Blazing Salvo. Most likely will transition to that Shiv, and it's going to be really effective with the Mortal Wound as well. Best Chuck's going to want to use this Eve to sustain, but it's going to be cut down by quite a bit once Idris gets on top of him.
And Flash going for a Crucible, is that an answer to the Oblivion out of T-Tigers, or is he looking to use that somewhere else?
It's a multiple answer, but we might have to wait on that one.
Holy Nova comes out, the stun out of Max Green. Von C potentially looking for an engage. At this point, they have a lot of damage that they can stack up. I mean, nobody's really safe.
Yeah, no one's ever truly safe in the Halcyon Fold until the Vein Crystal explodes, but I like it. I like the pressure we're seeing from Immortals.
Look at you speaking in absolutes right now as Immortals move forward in the Drifting Dark. The Malice and Verdicts starting to do pretty good damage. Best Chuck has to respect this Samuel. And what's really great about Tiggs moving up, he gets that damage, but he procs that Corrupted Genius.
Yeah, he does. He's always able to sustain himself in this lane. They're just looking for that damage on turret. I like the focus, not picking up too much turret aggro, just looking to get objective damage, even sneaking in a Chakram, some Malice and Verdict before the shield's able to fully restore. This is a poke composition at this point for Immortals in this laneway.
Von C, he's moved up. Max, not level 6 yet. They don't have that Divine Intervention. We'll have that Merciless Pursuit stun, nothing to follow just yet. Von C not really wanting to commit. It feels a little bit hesitant out of TSM, but they're definitely just kind of feeling around the edges of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about making sure your rotations are in sync with what your goals are, right? So if you need to push Immortals out, what you want to do then is figure out what's the next goal. An objective is not always turret, it's not always gold mine. TSM's objective in this instance, push out Immortals, let us double farm our backs, let us maximize our macro play.
Right. Okay.
We want to make sure we're increasing our gold gains as fast as possible, make sure once again we keep the Celeste scaling as quickly into the late game as possible.
Max has completed his own Crucible. It's going to be so important that the Blast Tremor is blocked off. I have absolute faith that Max will be able to do so. Vainglory, a sneaky rotation around the backside here. What's the play? He's on to Zeo. Huge damage. He's holding the Afterburn. He's actually going to knock Tiggs back there. Solar Storm not connecting the way Best Chuck would have liked. And that's, but you know, TSM taking a nice, strong engage, but not able to find anything. Immortals sending it back the other way. T-Tigers, the empowered Malice and Verdict's coming through. And TSM's tier 1 turret here, really in danger of going down. Flash body blocking a lot of the damage coming out of Tiggs, but he's going to have to be careful. Holding the Fountain of his own. Max Green, he's in a bad place. Divine Intervention will come out onto himself there. Moving back, Vainglory has the damage, but Best Shot find the kill. Another Afterburn, and Vainglory just throwing out those basic attacks onto Zeo. TSM just send it right back the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I love the amount of pressure we see in the return, each team doing their own trades. We do have a stun available for Flash here.
Well, they're going to stun up Zeo. Zeo able to Shroud Step out of that one. No harm, no foul, but this is going to be a turret going down. Tiggs had backed up out of that one, and they lose the turret for it.
First turret success rate, 66.7% average. So already swinging into the favor that TSM likes. Once they take that first objective, they want to use the momentum to keep going into the game.
Zeo's in, he's got the Shimmer Strike, and he's got Best Chuck striking like lightning.
Oh my goodness, that's going to be first turret for Immortals as well. So each team now getting their own set of gold infusion from these objectives. TSM just playing a little bit too far forward. I don't know if Best Chuck perhaps didn't realize Zeo held his ultimate for the entire engagement last time. Get caught off a little bit off guard there, but they're going to be able to reset a little bit. And this is where we start looking. What are the next objectives? What are the next things these teams are thinking about? Goldmine has been at max payout here for a number of minutes. So this is definitely some low-hanging fruit for the team that gets the right kind of positioning. But eyes on Von C. Can he actually get to the target that they need him to get to? And honestly, will TSM have their wits about them in the team fight to go to the target that Holy Nova is not on? Oftentimes teams sink way too much damage with the ultimate up, blocking so much. So I'll be watching Von C if he can do the target swap.
Flash does have the Echo now, so they have to be incredibly careful here. Immortals onto the back foot as TSM start to march forward. We'll see what they want to accomplish. Gold Miner is full at this point, so this would be a really nice objective if they can take it, but you got to imagine that it's going to be contested.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be contested, but we do have better positioning from TSM here to do it. We'll have to see. Samuel steal it.
Just a little too late on that one. First Blast Tremor is going to connect, looking for the Afterburn. Vainglory, what's the target? They block off the sun. Solar Storm coming through, almost taking 2 down. It's Zeo, and he's on to Best Chuck. Best Chuck dropping low, but so is Zeo. The Fountain will come out. A nice Oblivion, putting Vainglory to sleep. Unfortunately, they're going to lose Zeo. TSM finding the kill. They also getting that gold mine right before the fight. Now it's going to be Vainglory booting in. He's going for Max Green. Cancels off the Holy Nova. He's going to take down the captain. They've traded it. This means T-Tigers finding one. Crystal Sentry doing pretty good. Whoa! Best Chuck! You gotta respect that damage coming out of this Celeste.
Supernova going off, knocking T-Tigers out of his mind, literally back to the base. That was not the play they wanted to make. Immortals looking pretty good. Zeo goes in for a play that he honestly would have executed had he had reflex blocked the stun from Flash X. If he could have had that preemptive thought to push it a little bit earlier, he would have been able to make so many plays in that moment, but that instantaneous lockdown when he came out of his ultimate really just shut down the aggression.
With a player like Zeo, who can react to a situation of positioning advantage so quickly, you really have to be so in tune as a team to react with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was certainly on the front line, quite far away from his team, almost feeling like he needed to save them from impending doom. They got pushed pretty deep into the jungle, but once again, it is TSM now with the pressure, with the gold lead, looking to move their vision up, looking to make sure they get flanks where necessary. But right now, perhaps a bit of a criticism is they're not really focused on that vision movement, mostly just in the lane.
T-Tigers and drifting dark there. A little bit of a defensive shimmer strike coming out. The Solar Storm connects on the Max and Zeo. Helio's coming out. A lot of damage. They'll block off the first blast shimmer, but it was echoed up. Second one connects. Oh, the Afterburn Fonzie saw that one. They block off the Merciless Pursuit. Oblivion blocked as well. T-Tigers finds the damage though. Able to trade it 1-for-1 now. Immortals potentially on the chase. Flash. He's going to go ahead and body block this one off, but Zeo, he's going to boot himself into position. The Chakram is going to fly out, connects onto Flash. Flash should go down here. Best Shot turns around with the Helio, but they drop him down. Immortals turning around TSM's aggression.
I mean, they saw the target that was in their eyes. The blast shimmer goes off after the echo. They get the kill on Max Green, but you can't just kill the captain without having a plan for how to take down the other two members of the team. This isn't just some random players. These are DNZO. This is T-Tigers. You have to respect their ability to not care that their captain is down. If they know they can win a team fight, if they know they can follow up, they're still going to go for it.
And it was pretty clear, like, the moment that they saw that, they were like, okay, we're going. When you see Zeo just boots forward, that's a whole positioning thing. Really, really nice to see. Fonzie picking up his first bit of shield here. He's gone full offense thus far. It's been working out pretty good for them.
Yeah, I mean, what they're trying to do is essentially combo the damage that goes down. Let Celeste stack up her Broken Myth, get those Supernovas off. I'm gonna have to hold here just to see if we get the steal in. Nice secure there. Heads up play by Fonzie. Just after burning Max Green away. But back to the original thought here, Humanist. The whole idea is that we just want to blow up someone when they're silenced. When we can't use Fountain, they can't use Crucible, they can't use their own Reflex or Aegis. That's the moment where Vonsi wants to go in, wants to do some damage.
Well, Max Green has his own Echo. We'll see if he can get that double Divine Intervention out in this fight. It could be a really big deal, especially if Zeo able to get on target, especially onto Best Chuck. Now we're going to find a stun onto Max. Holy Nova does find the stun onto two, but Max is in a bad place. He's going to block off the Afterburn, moving forward. He's going down. Max melted, and look at that Solar Storm damage. Oh my goodness. Best Chuck, really a massive threat. And T-Tigers, you are in a tough place, my friend. But he does able to kite back there. The Frostburn doing pretty good work for him.
Yeah, Frostburn definitely doing some great work here, and I love the they're trying to balance out their engages, but Max Green, you don't have the same capabilities you have on Catherine to stay alive once you get locked down. Yes, you can use Holy Nova. Yes, you can try to use Divine Intervention on yourself to get out, but it doesn't actually change anything. We actually see the Solar Storm just rip through Fountain, not having enough time to actually heal him back there. Really, really great focus there from TSM in that fight. Max perhaps overextending a little bit too much, going for Echo. This makes you squishier than if you don't. You don't have the extra defenses. It's all about your turret goes down. You either have to engage or be ready to disengage. Zeo just almost absolutely no fear. Even with the stuns, the heals coming through, the like 500 heal protect, like they can't kill him.
I mean, you talked about the preemptive reflex block previously. That was beautiful. I mean, he was in there, he threw it down right onto target, and this is exactly how I would like to see Immortals play this out.
Absolutely, and T-Tigers just completely ignoring everybody except for the main target he wants to go through. I love the fact that his drifting darks are actually being used quite well. A #1 criticism for Samuel players is your drifting darks. Honestly, they have to be perfect in order for you to be able to continue to do damage to the team fight. You want to have it on a path, you want to have it on an angle that's going to kind of go through the enemy team for the entire portion of the fight. I'd like to see Flash try to stun him out of that.
Our Immortals going to look to make a play here. T-Tigers using his infusion. The first Blast Trimmer is going to come through. Flash finds the stun on a Max. T-Tigers moving forward. T-Tigers taking a whole bunch of damage. Divine Intervention will come up with the Solar Storm ripping through Immortals. It's going to be the Shimmer Strike for DNZO trying to get on target. He's on to Best Chuck. Shocker flying, but he finds the Afterburn back. Fonzie, he got the kill. Flash X stunning T-Tigers up. He's got the Drifting Dark moving back. Max trying to zone out with the Holy Nova doing his best. T-Tigers almost finding the kill. The Divine Intervention will come through.
Up.
Looking for the Afterburn, but a whole bunch of damage out of T-Tigers. They got to be careful. T-Tigers could find a kill. T-Tigers, this is a legendary position, my friend. He's got one. Oh, Afterburn back. T-Tigers, grab the genius. He's got two. T-Tigers looking for three, but Best Chuck takes him down. Just a battle of monsters right now, Fuji.
T-Tigers trying to make the plays. Oh my goodness, like this is so close going in on these team fights. I was about to say, like, Afterburn's ready. This is game over. T-Tigers is certainly going to go down, but not without getting 2 kills in return. Unfortunate for TSM, though. They cannot actually get any major objectives off of this, but they're just happy to at least kill him after that chase.
T-Tigers, I mean, he's one of those guys that we've seen in the past turn around fights like that. It is a whole different story if he goes down without taking 1 or 2 down there. Absolutely phenomenal plays.
I mean, a whole different story. That's game. That's what that is.
A whole different story.
That is game over. T-Tigers is making the huge plays here. I mean, Flash X, like, so the thing is I can see what they were trying to do. Flash X wanted to get just close enough to bait him out so he wouldn't be able to die, but once the shield goes down, the Malice Inverter able to actually come through and do the damage. Corrupted Genius healing him back up just enough to take Von C down.
The presence of mind to just throw out that basic attack there, fit that Corrupted Genius, I love it. Flash moving forward, slowed down from the Frostburn. Max retreating back, letting Zio get onto the front side here. What's the play? Flash with the Storm Guard, Max Green in, potentially looking for the Holy Nova. It's going to be off the mark there, leaving him out to dry. Now it's going to be Idris in onto Best Chuck. Best Chuck turns to one with the Solar Storm. Zio's on to target. Can they find the damage right there? They lost Max Green. They've lost the Zio. Deja vu is T-Tigers, but you're on the wrong side of the map this time, my friend. Drifting Dart. He's going to throw Malice Inverted, Corrupted Genius. T-Tigers, an absolute legend, a monster, slowing Flash X down. Everything descending upon him, and this will be TSM finding the ace and tying this series up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely so intense.
I mean, it's just so insane, the fact that they have the presence of mind to be able to maneuver through these team fights this way. Dienzio, so much courage coming into this, but this is going to be close, Humanist.
Are they going to die?
If they knock one turret down, the entire half the team's going to be back up on the field. They're going to have to split the damage here.
They have so much damage output, though. So much damage output. Max is in there. TSM trying to take the Vein Crystal down. We'll see. The Shimmer Strike forward with the Shroud of Shock. It's not enough. TSM coming back, tying the series up 1-1. I would expect no less.
Nothing less from these guys. The presence of mind coming all the way in, splitting those turret damage up, able to secure the game safely at the end. But what a performance by Immortals as well. Dienzio really showing up here today. Not quite enough in game 2. But they don't need to be too shy about it. They don't need to back off. They played well. They just need to get their minds focused on the next game.
For me, the difference was Von C. He felt quiet in game 1. He was finding engagements, opportunity, massive damage coming out of him here in game 2. What an exciting matchup we have. More games in store here in this series. To break that one down, we'll throw it over to the analyst desk.
We have a series on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. TSM managing to take one, even things up with Immortals. But once again, another game that was absolutely on the edge of a knife.
Yeah, what plays to come out, it's more like it, but it was Team SoloMid identifying how Immortals wanted to win these fights and playing against it. It wasn't that so much that Team SoloMid played to their composition's win conditions, they just eliminated Immortals' win conditions in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, that triple stun combo is super strong when a team like TSM has that synergy. They got 2 ganks on Zio in the early game. Chuck was actually rotating to the back jungle and getting the back camps with Fonzie, accelerating his level 8 power spike, and Zio didn't do that as with Tiger, so they actually fell behind in gold lead, and TSM was able to slightly snowball in terms of the gold lead, 4K gold lead for most of the game, and some critical fights that came with, and when Chuck landed his Solar Storms, they won the fight. So Chuck played Celeste much better this game than the last game.
Yeah, it was some superb Celeste play, especially once we got to those later game team fights. And honestly, across the board, these late game team fights between these two teams, some of the best mechanical play we've seen at all this tournament, but also some of just the closest team fights going back and forth each and every single time.
Yeah, a lot of games we see a team will get a lead like in the mid game and just snowball it through to the end game without really any opposition. In this series, we are seeing a team get a lead in the mid game, and as they try and push in, all of a sudden their opponents take a team fight, and they take the lead back away from them. The momentum is constantly swinging back and forth, almost like it's on a pendulum.
And there was a moment where the momentum was almost all the way in favor of TSM, and T-Tigers steps up to
that was insane.
This beautiful level. Let's take a look at this clip, because this essentially 1v3 after this fight.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy how this worked. I mean, Max is kind of like, he is kind of out of position and not really, like, he does Divine Intervention there. He needed to do it again right here. He had a Divine Intervention up and he needed to use it. Remember, he's pretty squishy, and Zio goes in by himself and he needed the Divine Intervention. The Fountain does not land on Zio because when Idris is in the Shimmer Strike ultimate, he does not receive the Q from a Divine Intervention or a Fountain. So I think that was unfortunate for Zeo not getting that fountain. And then, again, the Divine Intervention not being used. And Max has to be careful here because he's really squishy. When you build an Echo build, Glaive will blow you up. He has a tier 1 armor versus Glaive. And so many times he got out of position and Vonzi was able to delete him because Echo build makes you squishy. So he's got to keep that in mind and be very careful. But Tiger's here with the play was just phenomenal. He's literally saved the game by getting a kill.
The sustain he got from Corrupted Genius there as well, keeping him alive in that situation.
And also the wherewithal of when Catherine was chasing him down, recognizing, okay, I can't throw a Malice and Verdict at this Catherine because it will do too much damage on the reflect. It will kill me. So he waits until that bubble is gone, then finally throws it out, gets the first kill, allows the Glaive to come to him, takes the second kill, and saves the game for at least a little bit longer. But Team SoloMid able to take out Max Green consistently in these fights was the key.
And let's take a look at that final fight that sealed the deal here for TSM. It was going to be when they started to focus a little bit harder onto Max Green himself.
Yeah, this is already see how squishy Max. He has to run, but he needed to do a Divine Intervention as soon as the signs wore off. He needed to do it sooner, like right away. And Zeo, like Vonzi just goes up and kills Max Green instead of focusing on to Zeo because he canceled out the Divine Intervention by killing Max Green before it was able to land onto Zeo. So that was a really, really smart play by Vonzi because he knows how squishy Max is. Max did not get a fountain off that fight as well. So basically in this matchup, it came down to who was able to outplay who, and Vonzi definitely shined. Like both Tigers and Vonzi played exceptionally well today.
Yeah, and honestly, it's surprising to see Max Green make these tiny little slip-ups because this weekend he has been on a level that we've not even seen from him. He's been stepped up to this incredible level, and T-Tigers here playing that Samuel obviously wasn't quite enough to take the game, but certainly had some incredible moments. And now TSM managing to even up the series. That's got to be reassuring for them because you do not want to go 2-0 down on the stage. We've seen that twice and it's not been pretty either time.
Yeah, and we talked about in the regular season some matches having asterisks next to them perhaps, and maybe that was the case for Team SoloMid in that final week, but this is still the first time that Team SoloMid has picked up a single game victory over this Immortals squad. So that is absolutely huge for their confidence.
It certainly will be huge for their confidence. And, you know, TSM is a team that you anticipate being very confident. You anticipate them coming in with their heads held high. And off the back of that win, they're going to be going into the next game feeling comfortable and feeling ready to take on Immortals. But Immortals, definitely not a team that's going to be just, you know, going back to the drawing board and kind of retreating here. They're going to be coming in strong. I mean, we've still not even seen them play Adagio.
Yeah, and they played so well. That one Kraken push at TSM, they understood their win condition, went in, Zeo actually Shimmer Strike, dodged the Cat Stun. The plays were just insane, and Tigers dropped the Oblivion on there. So as long as Immortals can play that way as a team, if one of them, like Tigers or Max Green, doesn't have their best day, they tend to struggle. But once all three of them are on the same page and executing, they just shine.
Yeah, that was the fight when Max Green was able to get the double Divine Intervention off onto Zeo as he dove in. And like I said, that was when Team SoloMid seemed to realize, okay, their win condition is Max Green getting that double Divine Intervention off. Let's just focus on not letting that happen.
Yeah, just totally deny him. And this is what we've been talking about earlier on today. The meta revolves a lot around these captains and around being able to use that Echo effectively. Scar going to be the first ban of this draft from TSM.
Wow, that's a very interesting ban as a first ban. So that means Immortals might as well take away the Celeste and just leave all these type of picks open on both sides. So let's see what they're going to decide here. Are they going to ban away the Grace, the Cath, or are they going to take away a key carry that Chuck has been playing, such as Celeste? Or maybe even the Cruel. We'll see what they decide to ban here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. This draft is either way going to be wide open once the first bans are done and we get into those first picks. So let's see, Team SoloMid, on A side, knowing that when they don't have that, secondary priority, when their opponents aren't going to be picking first, they don't want to give them the chance of grabbing that Scarf. So it is going to be the Grace banned away by Immortals, and Crow taken immediately by Team SoloMid.
That's interesting. So that Cat leaves Cath open, and then they can ban Celeste here, or just keep it open and take it away from TSM. So they should ban something like Black Feather that could be potentially good onto the Celeste, because potentially TSM can still run a Black Feather with a Cruel if they want to.
Yeah, they certainly can. Immortals on the ban now, deciding where they want to go with this one. Obviously, Celeste is still available, but they get the next pick, so they might want to leave that open so that they can grab it for themselves.
Yeah, or they may take away Lyra, actually. Lyra or Arden would be good. If they ban Lyra, TSM will take the Arden. If they ban Arden, then wow, they're going to actually go with the Idris instead. So that will leave Lyra open for TSM. Lyra and Arden, and Lance actually is open as well.
Plenty of options, and Team SoloMid obviously not likely to ban one of those captains. They're going to take the Batiste away, of course, because Catherine is on the other side.
They should take Celeste here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes too much sense to take that away from Best Chuck. It's what he's been playing all series long thus far, and now he's going to have to get himself onto something different. Of course, that's not too much of a concern for someone like Best Chuck, who we know has an incredibly deep hero pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And now TSM on this double pick. They have a few different directions they can go with. Obviously, Krull has been a staple jungler in this current meta. And while it is inherently an aggressive jungler, it doesn't have to be played so. And it doesn't dictate your entire team's playstyle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Krull is a playstyle TSM loves because Vainglory wants to be aggressive. He wants to get in your face, stick onto the carry, and basically weaken them. So right here, Adagio, Blackheart. Oh, wow, Adagio, Lyra instead.
Here we go.
Double heal. This is the old school double heal composition that we used to see, a couple of seasons ago. The Adagio, Lyra, and Krull. You have to assume that it's going to be the Adagio in the lane, but Krull can be empowered so heavily with this.
Yeah, this is why I said Lyra or Adagio or Arden here, but banning Idris didn't make sense to me. They have Cath. Idris is not good into Cath. You don't need to ban Idris. Let them pick the Idris into a Cath because Cath is good. So they're going to go with the Glaive, and they have the triple stun versus a double sustain.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, and they're going to lock in that Glaive. The worry for me is a lack of mortal wounds available to them. Something like a Fortress is amazing into this kind of composition, but when you don't have that, I mean, are we going to see something like a Poison Shiv on Glaive? Is that a path that they're going to be able to go down?
Yeah.
It's a possibility. It's actually almost likely just because they need to have mortal wounds in some capacity, but with a Glaive, that sort of takes away a little bit of his effectiveness because he is all about the crits.
All right, then we'll see what build path he is going to go down. It's time to jump into Game 3 and see who can take an advantage in this series between TSM and Immortals.
Triple stun for Immortals versus super sustain for Team SoloMid. I'm sure that this Game 3 is going to be fireworks.
I mean, it's going to be fireworks, but it's all about Vainglory on that Krull. I'm going to have eyes on him. Of course, a lot of support coming from Best Chuck. A lot of support coming from Flash, but he's going to have to go wild on this Immortals team.
We'll see what they can do. I mean, Bacon talked about it. This kind of does harken back to the original sustain composition that we saw play time and time again in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a risky type of composition to play with so much CC from Immortals. Everything has to be executed quite well. Hello here, Immortals.
Hello. Immortals moving in. This is pure aggression at its finest. Even a Dragon Blood contract propped off in Immortals. First Blood.
I feel like I just teleported back to 2015. I have not seen a triple man invade.
It is 2015, Fuji.
Oh, God. Oh, man, I have not seen an invade like that in so long, and to actually put that kind of pressure on Krull, this was one of the things that made Krull so difficult to play in the past, was if you invaded him early and you shut him down, he was never able to actually scale up to where he wanted to be.
Oh, Afterburn catches Best Chuck, peeling him away from his Lyra, and this will be a dead Adagio. Just a matter of time. Immortals come out swinging here in Game 3.
It's just like a three-man rolling ball of death just moving through the map right now. There is a lane here still, folks at home. It is not just a jungle, but we might see a little bit of a reset in position after that first attempt. I love it. Some new strategies, some new things coming onto the fold here from Immortals to showcase that it's not just about the normal rotations, it's not just about the normal meta. We've prepped some things for this tournament, perhaps even specifically for TSM.
Absolutely, and a lot of times the TSM rotation that they did getting into the backs would have worked out pretty well in many cases, but just backfiring here as Immortals one step ahead. So as far as like the scaling of these teams, how are we going to see this play out?
So one thing that's going to happen is TSM's going to have to be extremely careful in the early game not to get behind, because if they do, if D'Enzio gets any further ahead than he is right now, off pattern from where you would expect Celeste to be, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually take her down. And if Adagio gets out of position even one time, it's going to die. He's just going to die to Celeste straight up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know the Adagio, this is not a mobile hero, right? And of course, the Celeste is going to do so good into that. What would we expect Dienzio's itemization to be here?
Honestly, the same as you would normally see. You want the 4-item offensive, you want to get a reflex block at some point pretty early, but there's not a lot of lockdown coming from TSM. It's just Hell's Heart that's going to be able to really keep him from moving. So what I actually am more interested to see is if Immortals can have the presence of mind to not get distracted by Kroll when they notice Adagio out of position. If Best Chuck tries to go around, get in position for the heal, get himself empowered, Agent of Wrath, get the autos off, can they immediately tell Tigers, go get him.
Sick him.
Sick him.
Go get him, Glaive. I mean, thus far, Glaive has been kind of the defining factor of the victories in the series.
Yeah, it definitely has been. Max Green is on this Catherine again, but here we go.
Empowered, moves up, taking a lot of damage. Core collapse off the mark. Nice heal out of Lyra, keeping Von C alive and in fighting shape. Max Green drops low. Weakness stacks on both of them. They've split Zio away from his team. T-Tigers is in a bad place.
Dead Man's Rush.
Should be able to catch him. There you go. Dead Man's Rush forward. Team SoloMid put themselves on the board.
That's it. That's what we want to see. We want to see Von C, the confidence he had on Kroll in game 1. TSM says, look, if you want to play like that, let's just get you a couple of healers or something, and then you'll be all right. And he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's get into game 3. We'll try it out this time on A side. I like the aggression. I like the fact they're able to get in. They do sneak out with that front treant, so that's a little bit of a bonus from them. And Von C also walking away with the Elder, so TSM trying to get a little bit back into the game after that incredibly successful early invade from Immortals.
I actually didn't notice until just now, but Flash going for the Crucible first item here. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to really amp up those heals from the Imperial Sigil. One thing you have to be careful, though, is if you get dove under turret, you only get one opportunity. Whoa, boot active going in from Tiggs here.
Oh, Tiggs smelling an opportunity and finding the mid camp.
He smelled it out. He went in. They used the strategy. Go get him.
T-Tigers just has a sense when that thing starts dropping low.
I mean, he's got the tension bow on him, so a lot of burst damage there. It's good for killing heroes. Also good for securing last hits against your opponent's jungle camp. So I like the fact that they're still being aggressive. Immortals not shying off. They do have the gold lead by about 1,000 gold here at almost 5 minutes into the game. No major item completion from the Best Chuck yet, but Dienzio does have his Eve, so some of that sustain will help him out a lot in this Adagio-Lyra combo.
You know, Max hanging out to protect Dienzio a lot, and T-Tigers has been doing this almost more than anybody. He actually picks up his own scout traps from time to time to get them down into important positions, especially around Tribrush and down by the shop. I've seen this a couple times, and I really like it.
Yeah, you definitely have to do it. I mean, Kroll loves living in the darkness, loves living in the brush and coming out for a surprise. We also know that Von C is quite the big fan of countering your own jungle, coming in for a gank on the opponent's side. So that one scout trap in the tri-bush on Immortals is going to keep him safe for now. They also have one in the top brush. I like to see that. This is something teams often overlook. Krolls love to get up in that top brush, make some plays from the top of the map. If you got a scout there, you can at least avoid a power spike play once Von C hits level 6.
Dienzio currently sitting on 60 last hits to the 45 of Best Chuck. A pretty serious advantage starting to stack up here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're still seeing the remnants of that early invade paying off for this team, just distracting Best Chuck. He feels like he needs to go in. He needs to actually steal jungle away instead of being able to farm the lane. Most of the wave was able to crash into Immortals after that early invade, so Dienzio not really losing too much CS there. Best Chuck does have his alternating current finished. Very important item for Adagio to really amp up his damage in this early game.
We're starting to see the back and forth already. Max pulling out that merciless pursuit, in and out, not finding the range, just backing up. These guys push their heroes to the limit so incredibly well.
Yeah, TSM has to be extremely careful though, because they do not have a long-range mage on their team, so Dienzio's poke is going to be brutal against Lyra and Adagio until Von C is there. So this is literally TSM has to team fight as a 3-man. Their win condition is Von C in the front line, Adagio in the back line, getting the damage off, getting the heals on Von C. Imperial Sigil giving Von C that speed boost to the target of their choice. eyes on him for being able to block these stuns, these afterburns, these core collapses. It's a lot of CC for him to have to avoid.
I'm really curious to see how that's actually going to play out. I mean, it feels like Fonzie almost has to just completely run at them unless they got an arcane passage to use to port them into the backside, but there's so much disable at that point, like you almost leave yourself in a vulnerable position.
Yeah, one of the tough things about arcane passage is once it goes down, that Dienzio can just drop a core collapse on one side of it. Max can actually just stand there and just kind of wait for you to pop out on the other side and just poke you in the nose with his shield, stun you down, lock you up. Of course, Afterburn can deliver you even further into the back line. I don't necessarily feel like Vonsi will be too disappointed on that delivery method, but Best Chuck certainly does not want to be caught on the side.
We do have Versus Judgment available for Best Chuck if he gets into a dangerous position. Also, Max Green has his ultimate available, so these are a couple big abilities that I want to keep my eyes on here as we move forward.
Something other notable is we see a Shiver Steel pretty early finish here from Von C, really changing up the build path. Tension Bow was a very popular item. We saw a lot of Krolls going for it first, especially this weekend. But looking like perhaps maybe a breaking point might come through, not quite sure. It could just be Sorrow Blade with a little bit of attack speed. We'll have to see what direction he goes. But a breaking point Shiver Steel Kroll, that's something we haven't seen in quite a long time.
Quite a long time. I mean, what's the idea behind that? Oh, we'll hold that. We maybe talk about this here in a second. T-Tigers looked quite aggressive. Fonzie coming around the backside, a very Fonzie-esque rotation.
He has
Immortals, you're in a tricky position. He's going to fight the stun coming out. Zio dropping low. Max Green as well. A whole bunch of CC coming out, and Zio will go down. T-Tiger's getting lit up as well. Fonzie's got him slowed down. The Spectral Smite comes through, but he stays alive. A really nice reflex coming out there at the end. Oh, they got it with a Sigil. What a play coming out. Team SoloMid pushing this one to the limits. And off the back of that one, Fuji, they'll take a turret for their troubles.
We talked about this. We nailed it right on the head. We were like, keep your vision up. Kroll likes to be able to be in the brush. He specifically loves coming from the enemy side of the jungle, and that's exactly what happens right here. Vonsi gets the ultimate flank into Dienzio. Dienzio unable to escape. Also, Smite not used for Dienzio means he's able to put Tigers all the way down to, oh man.
What a calculated reflex.
The timing on that reflex block
was so good.
Was literally between the tapping of activation on Smite and the actual Smite execution. That's like half a second, maybe less.
I think less. It's very impressive. T-Tigers, though, one of the players that we would expect to make those kind of plays.
I would expect T-Tigers to do a lot of things. That's certainly one of them, but I expect T-Tigers not to let it shake him either. That is a turret down for them, but he is not known for playing poorly on the back foot. In fact, oftentimes he is the playmaker to get his team back on the front foot.
So that was some nice aggression coming out of Team SoloMid, but it was because of the elements of surprise, I have to say. Are they going to have that time and time again? I don't think so.
Seems like a pretty big learning curve here for Immortals, is just to make sure they keep having their vision down. But a thing to note with this type of Catherine build style, when you go for the Echo, sometimes you go for the Null Wave, maybe even a Crucible at some point, you don't typically have enough room to continue placing vision. And if you do, you're constantly lowering your power spike item advantage because you have to spend so much gold keeping Von C from being in places you don't want him to be.
Max hanging out in the brush there. He'll be forced out by Von C. Fuji, one thing that I'm noticing here, Max Green only 5 stacks on that Captain of the Guard at this point. He's really way behind what we classically see out of our Catherine.
He just doesn't feel like he can be aggressive with his merciless pursuits. He feels like he needs to save them for the Kroll engage. You can see even right now he's not using
Things are getting crazy. Crystal Sentry's getting love. First Blaster is going to come out here. Helio starting to stack up from Hell's Hard block off. T-Tigers is now the target that they're focusing on. Core Collapse comes out onto Adagio. Best Chuck, he's not going to live through this. Best Chuck stays alive. Will drop, traded 1-for-1 now. Zio putting the damage down. This game is so incredibly even.
Wow, that team fight, I like the fact that Dienzio decided he wanted to basically have a one-on-one with Best Chuck on the back line. He says, if Kroll's not going to focus me, I'm going to change my target focus. I have to question a little bit of the decision-making there from TSM not going back to focus down Celeste so Best Chuck doesn't die. But that being said, they do come out with a kill. They're able to take some jungle away, so it is a little bit of a net positive, just giving TSM a slight gold lead now over Immortals.
Whew, we'll take a moment here. It's 4-3, about 12 minutes into this one. very even, very back and forth. Either team capable of taking a team fight at this point. We've seen Team SoloMid abuse the element of surprise. That one was just right in the face of Immortals. I mean, they started on the Crystal Sentry and just went from there.
I mean, that was definitely a very bold play from TSM to be in the jungle back there like that, especially considering the fact that Max Green's right there. He's able to silence you. He's able to lock you down. Crystal Sentry, definitely an objective you'd like to remove as soon as possible, but it is not worth giving up anything other major on the map, especially turrets. Obviously, Goldmine is in that category as well. You asked me earlier, Humanist, what is this breaking point all about? Well, honestly, I really feel like Von C thinks this team fight is going to last quite some time. He's going to have a lot of sustain. He's going to have a lot of time to build up those stacks. But once again, Afterburn, Core Collapse, Merciless Pursuit, assumingly Atlas fairly soon, perhaps on T-Tigers. There's so many things for Von C to have to prioritize the block. I don't really know what he's going to think is most important quite yet. But they do get that Goldmine payout, so that is one thing to help him get to another block, perhaps.
T-Tigers Afterburn over the wall. Pretty dangerous just to be able to get his mid. T-Tigers in a bad place. Core Collapse will be able to stun up Von C, but the From Hell's Heart will connect, and Team SoloMid find a kill. A very uncharacteristic mistake coming out of T-Tigers there.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic mistake. Perhaps just sticking around way too long as well, thinking he was going to be able to get out. I mean, Dienzio comes down, tries to help, and we saw Core Collapse land, but once again, the question still remains, is TSM going to be able to continue this momentum into the late game? Almost there, Max Green. Fortunately, Smite very good at securing the last hit on minions here in the fold.
You know, all of these teams are so good at almost everything that they can do in the game. One of the things I think TSM does best, I think also Cloud9, Nova do really well. They always go in and take these Crystal Sentries out, like anytime they have that option available to them. You can see it's really paying off for TSM here.
Yeah, I mean, it's gold, it's experience, and it's also map pressure, right? Von C's running up to T-Tigers saying hello. Kind of like how his hand's out front, just like, give me a hug there if you want, buddy. I got a shiver still for you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to turn around. Like, I'm still following
it's
you,
like a game of chicken, except the other team's going the wrong way, but they're still looking to steal away camps here. I like the fact TSM keeping this pressure up. Crystal Sentry is coming back onto the map. They are a little early, as that is the intention, so you have to be careful. This is a bit of a 4v3 if they engage Immortals.
Max Green's going to walk in the brush. Von C empowered up, moves over onto the Crystal Sentry. They're going to find the first stun onto Von C. Defensive Afterburn back. Dienzio trying to find the damage to let loose the Solar Storm, connecting on the Team SoloMid, but the heals route. Boomerang from Hell's Heart will come back. Going to connect there. They've lost Zio. T-Tigers dropping low. Von C trading for the other team. 1-for-1 at this point. T-Tigers able to get out of the route when Flash almost getting him with the sigil on the end of it. Max will chase them out of his jungle there.
Max has to be one of the most confident Catherine players I have ever seen. He is literally just always eyes on the enemy, even if he's not in a position. He understands the limits of this hero so well. I mean, in this replay, we see some of the difficulty, right? So TSM perhaps playing a little bit too ahead. Crystal Sentry just wailing on their team, unable to really get in a great position, but we see the heals coming out of their team, able to sustain Von C enough for him to get the kill. Well, I mean, blocked. So if Hell's Heart actually lands there, that is the difference between T-Tigers going down or living versus Judgment just barely missing from the slow coming from Lyra there. So great team fight from TSM. They weren't able to get the Crystal Sentry, though, weren't able to get another turret off of it. So a little bit messy all in all.
So I just want to point out here, Flash going for the Aegis on top of the Crucible. We saw him do this before. I think it makes a whole lot of sense here. We don't see it all the time, but it's a very nice itemization for this game.
Yeah, I mean, and Bestchuck is really trying to go for as big of a heal as he possibly can as well. He has the Shatter Glass, the AC, the Broken Myth, not looking for Frostburn, not really intentionally looking for those slows. They really think that between Lyra and Kroll, they're going to be able to get enough kiting in, enough slow in to be able to get on the target. But the longer this game goes on, the harder and harder it's going to be for TSM to be able to get to the target they want to. CC's just getting stacked and stacked and stacked on the side of Immortals here.
One of the things also, T-Tigers now has an Atlas Pauldron ready to go. T-Tigers moving forward. He's going to find the stun up onto Bezchuck. The silence is going to come through from Max Green as well. They're trading damage back and forth. The second silence as well. Dienzio blocks up the From Hell's Heart. Von C has to drop back as Bezchuck's dropping low. Core Collapse is going to come out, blocked off. Now it's back Von C onto Zio. Zio kiting back with the damage there. The Von C, the Solar Storm will rip through. They take the crawl down. Now on the chase. Arcane Passage looking to disrupt the aggression from Immortals as the chase is on. Flash X will probably drop here. I think Bezchuck able to get out of this one.
Max Green, yeah, he's not going to catch up to Best Chuck. Immortals, though, turning up the heat and taking a massive team fight win.
I mean, this is not the time you can lose a team fight if you were TSM. Kraken is on the map. I mean, they have all their turrets are in such a good place, but they continue to push their luck. They go for these Crystal Sentry kills, and Immortals is just standing right there. I don't understand why they continue to try to force these team fights. This is not where you want to be if you are TSM. I mean, in this replay, yes, Vainglory waits out the silence, but Dienzio, he has the ability to block that with a reflex. The second Echo Silence comes out, continues to keep the healing from being able to go on the Vainglory, but look at this afterburn timing from T-Tigers. Just waiting it out perfectly to be able to combine it with the rest of his team's crowd control abilities. Kraken now pushing down the lane.
That was such a beautiful fight out of Immortals. I mean, they landed so many abilities, blocked so many abilities coming out of TSM. Amazing stuff. These two teams are absolutely insane. Immortals marching down the lane with the Kraken at this point. TSM know that they need to engage. It's the Arcane Passage in, the Atlas Pauldron out onto TSM. A defensive after looking to peel Vainglory off. Dienzio gets the healing, but Vainglory will drop him down with the help of Best Chuck. Who will go down next? It's Vainglory with a dead man's rush, keep himself alive. First the Judgment comes out, blocked off, but it's actually stunning on Max Green. He dropped back for T-Tigers. Afterburn buying a little bit more time. Best Chuck chasing Max Green out to the east. Kraken still pushing forward. T-Tigers eventually will drop. Good guy cameraman with the zoom out there for us. Do appreciate that. But Immortals drop. Kraken gets one turret. TSM, a very nice fight.
Team fights happening on both sides of the map here. I love the fact that T-Tigers recognized quite quickly he was not going to be able to make it out alive. So what does he look for? He looks for the next best thing, an afterburn over the turret just to make sure he pushes it down, gives Kraken a little help on its final push to that third choke point.
T-Tigers, just max efficiency, you know?
Max efficiency. I love it. I love it. Perhaps he's learning a little bit from Max Green over here, but I like the fact that there's just never a moment where either of these teams are backing down. That being said, Immortals is now up one turret over TSM, but they are still in the gold deficit. It's tough though, Humanist. It's really going to be hard for Kroll to continue sticking to these targets when he wants to be able to delete Celeste. And if he turns on the T-Tigers, if he doesn't focus Dienzio, now these 4-item offensive, like, Dienzio's is going to blow up the entire team through all these heals even.
Look at it, Vainglory, he does have his journey boots up now. And as far as his next item, what would he expect? Is it just going to be a tension bow? What's he going to finish off there?
Yeah, I mean, one offensive item, Breaking Point, is not a ton of damage. So a lot of the goals, I think, from TSM at this point is to also make sure Best Chuck gets in the position to do damage. It could be a tension bow. It could also be a bone saw. Unlikely. I think he's just going to want the upfront burst damage and the flat pierce. He's not going to have a lot of time to auto attack now. We have 2 Atlases from Immortals. So, Vainglory, show us what you can do, buddy.
Max finds the stun. The Atlas Pauldron on to 2. TSM waited out. Vainglory empowered up in the brush. Crystal Sentry thinking about getting into this fight here. Not too tanky compared to the heroes at this point in the game. Dienzio starting to zone out with the Helios. They go Supernova. Not huge damage at this point. Zio stacking up. First, Blasphemer is going to come through. Second is going to connect as well. Max finds the stun. Vainglory going to get blown up. Dienzio lets loose a Solar Storm. Won't connect, but Immortals are on the chase. T-Tigers waiting for the afterburn. There it is. Who's he going to go for? Is he going to go through the Arcane Passage? Flash once again looking to disrupt the aggression. Core collapse down onto Flash. Max zoning out Best Chuck. Best Chuck turns with the help of his Crystal Sentry. Best Chuck wants to play, my friend. He stayed around too long, and he'll be punished for his mistakes. Crystal Sentry takes Max Green down, and these teams just trading back and forth here, toe to toe.
Toe to toe, but TSM, why do you continue to push these fights at the Crystal Sentry? It's literally lost you the last 2 team fights almost in the same portion of the map. Yes, it is an important objective, but what's more important is Kraken. Kraken should be your focus, setting up vision around the map, making sure you can get a nice flank from a Hell's Heart from over the wall, something that's unexpected for Immortals, but TSM just not finding it. The amount of CC available to them, these Echo Blast Trimmers doing so much work for Immortals. TSM so much further to go in this game if they really want to close it out.
I mean, Max has really been connecting on those Blast Trimmers. It's been crazy. I mean, you rarely see them land as often as we have seen them land this game, especially against a guy like Flash X.
Especially against Flash X. We have 1 Crucible for TSM. I honestly believe 2 Crucibles would be so much more valuable than a Piercing Spear at this point in the game, but we'll have to see where their goals take them next. Right now, it's just to take this Kraken down. This third turret certainly going to fall. But whether or not TSM looks for the engage, we'll have to see.
1 second cooldown on the Helios coming out of D'Anzio at this point. This is insane. They're just firing out across the map here. Defensively, offensively, wherever he wants. Arcane Passage in, Bright Bulwark down. Core Collapse thrown out, but blocked off. A nice job. They're going to look to kite back now. They're going to block off the afterburn. They caught D'Anzio. A blast trimmer will come through, buying time to Fountain as well. But they take Geo down. Max Green should be caught as well. T-Tiger's able to get himself out of this one. TSM, a clean engage, finding 2 kills.
A little deja vu from me to you, Immortals. We were here last game. We saw the fact you get the Kraken out on the map. Oh, takes down the turret. Unfortunate for TSM, not able to take it out in time. Enough distraction from Max Green to be able to get that crystal turret down. But I mean, in this replay, right, we talk about this. Kraken doesn't really have enough effective help for Immortals to be pushing in. They're not going to get enough damage, so it's very risky for them to be going into this choke point with Lyra engaged, the portal going down, and of course, Best Chuck, for the first time almost this entire game, able to get on top of Celeste alongside Von C. And we see the strength of the composition come through when enough of the CC is blocked and you're able to double focus down the back line of Immortals, you can take a victory. It's hard to do, though.
What I thought was really clean out of Von C also, he got a bunch of weakness stacks down on Zeo and then just switched targets. So he was like, okay, you guys cleaned him up. I've done my job here. I'm moving over to T-Tigers. Yeah, Tiggs gets away, but this is Von C utilizing his abilities to maximum effect.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't actually get an Atlas off, if you're not able to keep Von C from getting those weakness stacks on D'Anzio, he's going to do substantially less damage, right? So at that point in time, you can make a decision. Do we pop Smite for execution for the kill, or do we leave it up for enough time for Best Chuck to be able to actually whittle down the rest of the team since the damage output just isn't quite there? Tension Bow came through, by the way. That is the final offensive item being built on Von C here from TSM. Max Green almost close enough to give him a little tap there, but he gets out.
Yeah, that's an interesting port out there. It was a little bit in the danger zone, but calculated. Max having a little bit of fun out on the map here. Immortals do have control. They have control of the Tri-Brush now. Kraken spawning back out onto the map. This is very important positioning, especially having a Celeste. There's like no way you're going to be moving forward here and having Immortals not see you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely no way. I mean, the auto attacks will reveal, so even if she gets in range from that and you get away from her, it is going to show where you go. The Helios giving vision in the bush. Such an important pick against Kroll in the late game is just the ability to not have to spend so much money on scouts. You only really have room for flares, right? So these Helios are really going to be kind of your temporary scout traps on the map.
All right, well, it felt like TSM were essentially letting it happen, but Immortals just waiting this one out. They really would prefer to take a fight at this point. T-Tigers, he's in the Tri-Brush. Zeo hanging on the backside of this fight. We'll see if Flash wants to engage with the Arcane Passage. That's what he's done in the last 2 or 3 fights. It worked out pretty well for them. Helios raining down across the vault. There's your Arcane Passage and immediately stunned up. A very nice job. Max Green, he's on the backside. Immortals are split apart. Zeo, he's kiting back, dropping the Helios. T-Tigers blocks off the From Hell's Heart. They're silenced up one more time. Tiggs turns around, trying to get the damage. Solo trying ripping through, but it's not enough. Zeo, he can't kite back enough. A double kill coming through for Best Chuck in it. Team SoloMid turning it up through the roof. Every Team SoloMid fan on the street cheering for the team at this point. They've done it. They find the ace. And look at these respawn timers. Team SoloMid will just shove down the lane now and take as much as they can off of this map.
TSM doing almost the seemingly impossible task of getting through 2 blast trimmers, merciless pursuit studs, core collapses, afterburns, all the things that could potentially block them from getting the kills they want. They say, nay, sir, we're gonna kill the Celeste,
nay.
We're gonna kill the Glaive, we're gonna kill the Catherine, and we're gonna take this game.
Team SoloMid coming here in game 3. You know, you drop game 1, but they come back strong. Back-to-back victories. And Immortals, this is a shaky position to be in against TSM here.
It is shaky position to be in, but I would expect nothing less from this series, Humanist. Back and forth, that's the way the games have been, that's the way the series is going. I imagine we're gonna get a treat in the next game.
By no means was that an easy victory right there.
No.
That was so
Hard fought victory.
That's what we expect out of a sustained comp, right? Like if someone's going to sustain through the double blast trimmers coming out. But to break that one down, we're gonna go ahead and throw it over to the analyst desk, guys. What an amazing game.
I mean, you both said it absolutely perfectly there. These games are so close, so hard fought, and we haven't seen any single little objective go easily. Nothing goes uncontested in this series. TSM now 2-1 up, but Immortals giving it to them the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, every time Team SoloMid felt like they had an advantage, they would try and go ahead and take, the Crystal Sentry off the map. And then Immortals would win a fight, take Kraken, start to push in towards the base, and then Team SoloMid would win the fight and push right back. This was such an insane matchup.
Yeah, the early game for IMT was amazing with that Chipperman invade getting first blood. They actually had the lead until a nice rotation by Von C at the 8-minute 50 mark. Right here, it was an amazing rotation by him. He gets the from Hell's Heart, landed on Zeo. They kill Zeo. They secure another kill, and then they take the turret from there. And then the next fight at 10:30, IMT kind of split focus against TSM. And I felt like they should have focused Von C here. Look at Tigers. Tiger goes for Chuck. Von C is already low. He's getting damaged. He's getting stunned. They should have just focused. He's already silenced. So they should have focused a crew there and just deleted him, and they maybe would have won that fight instead of split focusing like they did here.
Yeah, I mean, these fights just... The mechanics required and the game, the knowledge presence required is just insane to know exactly where you need to be in these fights. And you can see the sustain onto Von C as he charges on forward, chasing people down.
Yeah, the double sustain, almost triple sustain, because Kroll sustained so much himself as well. It was so difficult for Immortals to deal with. But there were moments where they were able to. Max Green had some incredible plays on this Catherine. One of the best double blast tremors I have ever seen came out later in this game. I'm sure we're going to get to have a look at that as well. But it was the Catherine play, the lockdown they were able to do when they could prevent the healing from going over. That was when they won these fights.
Now, one of the things I want to bring attention to in this series is how important these objectives have been, specifically the Crystal Sentries. We have a replay around 19 minutes into the game where you can see the focus that both of these teams put onto taking control and denying the opponent's sentries.
And this was that double blast tremor. If you watch as they retreat, they get the Crystal Sentry, or they actually don't even get the Crystal Sentry, but here comes the blast tremor. First one, the moment the silence is wearing off, the second blast tremor came down and it completely prevented all healing from coming
this is an example, like, they just need to focus in front of IMT. I don't know why I keep split focusing, but when they do, they can kill crew. And I wish Tigers build a poison shift instead of a tension bow, because a tension bow is pretty much useless later in the game with poison shift, with shipper steal, I mean. So I think itemization could have been better. But again, they just need to focus the front line like TSM does. They need to stop over-committing and splitting up.
Yeah, and the poison chip was a conversation we wanted to have at the start of the game. Obviously, we had to start the game, but it's not the typical glaive build. But when you're in a game like that against so much sustain, maybe you have to kind of sacrifice your maximum damage
And to talk about the itemization even more, Von C going for the Shiver Steal, an item that got buffed for update 2.7, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of. It was so smart in this matchup because it was just, he had to be that big tanky front line, relying on just the health as opposed to armor or shield.
And it helps him keep on sticking to them. These are the last couple of fights of the game. This is where TSM, backs against the wall, still managed to pull it out.
Yeah, they need to be careful here. With Zeo ulted sooner, he's holding his ult, and it's important for Celeste to get off the ult, because when all the members of TSM is bunched up like that, getting an ultimate off will do so much damage and so much heal from the Eve. But TSM did such a great job focusing down Zeo every time, surgical precision, deleting him.
And this portal was so good. Max Green got pulled all the way to the back of the team, was not able to then land any stuns on the Kroll to keep him off target.
And just look at the sustain on Von C during this part of the fight. So many times he nearly goes down, but this just isn't quite enough damage.
Yeah, and this is why you need to have Poison Shift against a double heal and a Cruel. Like, Poison Shift literally counters that entire competition. You have to build that Poison Shift. The Mortal Wound makes the barrier, the heals, everything less effective, and they needed to get that Poison Shift, and I can't emphasize it enough. T-Towers did this again yesterday, where he rushed Tension Bow on either Black Feather or Glaive, and he did not build a Poison Shift. He has to build that Poison Shift as a second item and build another item from there.
I would love to see the healing received from Von C for this game, because that number has got to be through the roof. Probably even higher
damage
than damage
taken
dealt.
versus damage healed or something like that would be amazing to have a look at, just to see the numbers. I bet they're higher than you would expect, but we need to get on into game number 4 here. TSM now lead the series 2-1, but Immortals, they're going to be wanting to even things up. They're going to be wanting to push this to game number 5. Grace is going to be the first ban on the side of Immortals, and now TSM have to decide where they want to go. Removing Krull is going to be the call. sure.
Yeah, take the Catherine here, and hopefully on the second rotation, they ban away the Lyra. I felt like them banning Idris didn't make much sense, so hopefully they will ban that Lyra out and not give a double hue composition again over TSM. TSM has to ban Baptiste here, so that will give Scarf over to Immortals. Because if they do not ban Baptiste, or they have to take it then, or give Immortals Baptiste Catherine.
Yeah, we'll see where they go. They are going to ban that Baptiste in the end. Interesting that they first picked this Adagio. It's something that we've seen earlier on in the weekend was a very high priority, but in this series it's been much later on in the draft.
Yeah, typically at least, but now they want to make sure that they have this hero. They don't want to give that over to Dienzio. It is suddenly becoming this hotly contested pick. We always talk about day 3 has the meta shift. We see stuff that we don't normally see, and it looks like that Adagio is going to be the flavor of the day.
Certainly is, and it was the flavor of the day in day 1 as well. We'll see how that one's going to pan out. Now TSM going to decide on their second pick. Still a lot of directions they can go.
Yeah, and I love the double hue though. I mean, the reason why double hue is so strong is because poison shift didn't exist, and you play a double hue into a non-poison shift comp, you have a very, very high, the odds are in your favor basically. So I think TSM here will most likely maybe roam the Captain Adagio and pick and maybe take away the Scarf and not give it to Zio, but I don't know how good Chuck is on Scarf. They're going to go ahead and take the Black Feather here. So that gives Immortals Glaive and Scarf, which is a very strong combo they have on their side.
Or Glaive and Celeste and have that triple stun combo.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So this is a lot of strength that can come out from Immortals just by having that Catherine. It enables you to set up these triple stun, these lockdown compositions. They could even potentially, you know, look for a jungle Lance. It was something that Team SoloMid has banned away from them previously. Just get even more of that lockdown potential.
I'm interested to see the kind. I would love to hear the Immortals discussions right now on Celeste versus Scarf, because on one hand you can stack the stuns, on the other hand you got Dienzio here.
Yeah, I think Celeste is too risky into a Black Feather. He can dodge all of the core collapse, etc. A better pick would definitely be Scarf. They don't have a lot of stuns on the side of TSM. Adagio's ult, the only thing that stuns Scarf out of their ultimate, so Scarf can actually do a lot of work in this situation, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And now they're going to pick Glaive to round it out.
Not only that, but any hero that has a ground-targeted ability is so strong against an Adagio. If he starts that Verse of Judgment, Goop, Spitfire, guaranteed to connect unless it gets body blocked and set on fire.
Lance will probably be picked up here. Either Lance or Arden would probably be the best option, but I think looking at TSM here, Lance, yep.
Yeah, Lance is something that FlashX has been playing all season long when he can get his hands onto it. And alongside an Adagio and a Black Feather, certainly a lot of damage going to be coming out from this composition. But the question I have to ask you guys, can they shut down Dienzio's Scarf? It's been flawless this entire weekend.
It's going to be extremely difficult to do so, especially early. There won't be opportunities to prevent him from getting to that late game. It's going to be all about, can FlashX stop the ultimate?
So EJ, can Immortals even up this series? Are we going to go to game 5?
If Immortals fights in lane and not in a jungle, I think Immortals are going to take this game. But if they fight TSM in jungle and risk it, the Lance is going to excel and help them win. Because Flash has been playing phenomenal today, by the way.
All right, we'll see whether they can find the right fights. It's time to get into game 4. It's time to see whether TSM can finish things off or if Immortals will come back into it.
Team SoloMid 1 win away from moving on to the finals here. This is a very tense moment for Immortals, but I think they have the capability.
They certainly do, and once again we get the treat of Scarf being on Dienzio, so let's get into it.
Let's get into it right away, shall we? I'm very excited to see Von C on the Black Feather here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Black Feather certainly can have a lot of execution points, but we see Immortals actually looking for a little cheeky 3-man invade again.
TSM has 3, well, split up now as a 2 versus 3. Best Chuck's going to use his boots to reposition, but they've caught him out here. A nice use of the Dragon Blood contract, and they drop him down. Immortals on the board early to start things off here. Von C able to get his back healing camp. Max Green will chase Flash out of the remainder of the jungle. Looks like Von C actually gets his full backs.
So when we originally saw the Elder Treant come into Vainglory, it was pretty popular for teams to kind of go to the middle of the map. You'd see a lot of 3-man invades through the center, or at least a couple of people would go down and contest the Elder. That kind of fell off for a little bit, but Immortals picking it back up, catching TSM by surprise now 2 games in a row. The first time was a bit more of a traditional invade from the old days, but this time TSM maybe just not really thinking they were going to do it again. Big mistake though.
Yeah, a big mistake, and also, I gotta say, I think Best Chuck actually gets away from that if they didn't have a Dragon Blood contract there.
Yeah, absolutely. Dragon Blood certainly doing work, and of course, Zio loving the fact he can come back to lane, and have a monumental wave waiting for him there, so nothing too much lost. Of course, Scarf great at clearing out minions here with the Goop Spitfires. One of the things that's also quite annoying, playing against Scarf in lane, is the fact that Spitfire does go through the lane of minions. So a lot of times just extra damage maximizing by getting those Spitfires onto the enemy as well as farming.
Right. Well, max efficiency we would expect coming out of Zio. And it seems like time and time again, when whatever team DNZio is on, when his tournament life is on the line, this is the hero that he goes to.
Yeah, and actually, like we can act, well, let's go into this. Let's go into this right now.
Dragon Blood's on track. It's actually best shot. The focus down. They're taking him out so incredibly quickly. Vainglory honestly couldn't really do anything. Flash tries to protect his Adagio, but it's not happening here. This is going to be another Eldritch Treant going the way of Immortals, and a very quick net worth lead building up for them.
You know what I love, Humanist?
Tell me.
Donuts. You know what I also love?
Pizza.
Scarf into Adagio. Adagio is almost always a sitting duck for this pick, right? We heard it on the desk. Tasty Bacon hit the nail right on the head. When you drop the Goop down, even if he's not in his Verse of Judgment, he cannot get out of it. And when the Spitfire gets lit up on top of the Goop, you have this now moment where he can get locked down with Catherine stun, and Adagio just cannot get away. He's also really easy to build broken myth stacks on too, because he doesn't have a lot of fancy footwork. He has no movement abilities. He can't dodge Spitfires from a distance.
Right.
So I really like the draft that Immortals has. It hinges on one thing though. TSM, Flash X on this Lance. He has to be the key playmaker for this team. He has to hit the Impales and the Githians of a lifetime to be able to lock this Scarf down and to be able to get TSM this victory.
So in your opinion, TSM kind of drafted themselves into a very tough win condition.
It's definitely tough, but it can certainly be pulled off. Vainglory, mechanical genius. This guy can certainly get to the back line, can certainly put down the damage on the Scarf. But if he does not execute with Lance correctly,
Vainglory,
Scarf's going to win.
Gonna be stunned up. T-Tigers is there. Vainglory caught out, chopped down. Immortals up 3-0, 4 minutes in.
Vainglory, what are you doing there, bud? You don't have a boot active?
He's battling over the fronts, Fuji.
Oh, those front two minions. Those little guys, man, just leave them alone. Not worth dying over. Close to 4 minutes into the game as well, so not a great time to go down. It's going to allow T-Tigers to take away your front camp. Got some vision in that portion of the map too for Immortals, so some really good rotational calls from them. They'll notice when Vainglory comes out of his own jungle, be able to make a lot of heads-up play.
I love seeing the Scarf just clear out a massive wave. You hear all that gold trickling in. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing indeed. Kind of back to the point we were mentioning before. We'll have to figure out, does TSM delegate Flash X to a Vainglory dive, or is he there to protect the best Chuck against the T-Tigers dive? Both teams, aggressive junglers, both aiming for the kills on the carries, but whoever does it first is essentially going to come out on top. If Scarf doesn't go down though, Humanist, the ability to turn around with that Dragon's Breath is just going to be so difficult for TSM to deal with.
It's going to be insane. I mean, I feel like Vainglory's definitely going to need to stack up a whole bunch of damage this game. Actually, he's maybe getting caught out again. Afterburn into the Scout Trap. Oh my goodness! Immortals playing like they're on another level in this game. Apparently not too happy to be down in this series.
Not too happy at all. They're also going to pick up Crystal Sentry for what it's worth and be able to continue to apply pressure here in the lane. Afterburn available for T-Tigers. Not going to pull the trigger here.
That was so flawless of a rotation.
It was just, it's perfect. You get the Afterburn in, you get the Merciless Pursuit stun down, the Goop, the Spitfire combo. Nothing Vainglory can do about it. Perhaps the only bad thing to come from that entire play for Immortals was they did lose their Scout Trap.
It was not too bad either. Max with the premeditated Scout Trap down there. They knew it was going to happen.
It's like, guys, 5 minutes, 10 seconds into the game, here's what we're going to do.
They were talking about during the draft. Hot Sauce had the plays all lined up for them. Team SoloMid, as a unit rotating down, Flash drop into the shop. Both teams do have their fountains out, ready to go. I see Vainglory building a whole bunch of damage at this point for himself. Do you think he's going Poison Shift this game? Serpent Smash? Where would you like to see him go?
Serpent's Mask is certainly an opportunity he could go for. Poison Shiv as well would give him double sustain. We have been seeing a pretty popular build on Blackfeather where the Sorrow Blade comes out and then you see some sort of auto attack sustain alongside of it. He's going to opt for that Serpent's Mask. I think that's pretty wise because it is going to be hard for him to just instantly kill Scarf, but if he can sustain through a team fight for a little bit longer than Scarf can actually kill him, he's going to be able to get those Heartbreak stacks up. He's going to be able to go for the executes and also get a lot of health in return. So definitely not against the item, but this it kind of tells us a story of what TSM is going to be looking for in these fights, and it's not quite a intentional kill, just a little bit of a sustain.
So Breaking Point, probably an item that's going to be coming out for him here?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something I think they should consider. I mean, so Serpent's Shiv on top of Serpent's Mask is, I mean, it's going to be one of these things where we actually get to see whether he's going to stick to the back line or he's going to be peeling back to help kill Glaive. I just don't think that's going to be his goal, though. I mean, honestly, the win condition, like we talked about before for TSM, is you got to kill this dragon.
And they're going to have to pretty much all in onto that dragon. And what's crazy, though, is Max Green's going to have the stun. You're going to have the peel from T-Tigers. And one of the beautiful things, T-Tigers, he's been holding these afterburns so incredibly well. You pointed it out time and time again through these games in the series here. I mean, the reflex will come out. He just waits it out. Boom, knocks him back. It's so beautiful.
Knocks him back. Indeed, this giant wave going to be pushing into the turret. Immortals could use this time to get some turret damage if they wanted to. There's 3v2 in the lane, so we'll have to see if we can get some poke out. Flash X blocking the Spitfire, though, will save turret a little bit of HP there, but nothing too major.
Yeah, Flash typically does a pretty good job at defending his turrets by using that body blocking, and against the Scarf, it's incredibly important. At this point, D'Enzio is not hitting like a truck, so he can do that pretty well. We do see Von C making his move up into the lane here as TSM are on the back foot. Players will come out. They say that Immortals were waiting in the wings. And with the element of surprise removed, it looks like they're not going to move forward. There's actually your stun. Von C getting connected on, gets back. A nice Rose defensive there. On point connects. That's Chuck applying a bit of damage. Nobody quite connecting, though.
Nothing quite connecting. I have to wonder if TSM's also keeping up a bit with the timer on that Tension Bow proc. You obviously have about 6 seconds or so once it goes off to get in and do a little bit of damage. Tension Bow certainly is great at popping people up front, but it doesn't have great sustain.
Bold move here down on the Gold Miner. Team SoloMid getting the Gold Miner low. Immortals moving in, not wanting to give it away. They're on to D'Enzio. Rose defensive over the top. Von C's there. He's got a bit of sustain for himself. Best Chuck now moving forward, starting to apply damage to the zone. T-Tiger, 3-man get the wall out of Flash X, canceling off anything Immortals were looking to do. A Faint of Heart in. Von C over the top side. Zio dropping low, but they've actually got him. The Goop Burden, now they've turned it. It's TSM on the run. Zio's going to go ahead and just port back. T-Tigers and Max chasing Flash. Combat roll will go ahead and cancel that one off, but these teams, whoa.
There was so much promise to that team fight, but Best Chuck just couldn't find his way into the follow-up, perhaps looking for a flank opportunity, not following his team. Indecision from Best Chuck in that specific engagement cost TSM big. The team fight was in their hands. Von C getting to the back line twice, just unable
a 3-man stun out
anyone.
of Flash too, right? Like if they are not hesitating there, they are destroying Immortals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shot call perhaps was send Best Chuck up into the jungle. Let's see if we can cut them off, but Immortals able to put out the damage, still able to lock down Von C and get another kill. TSM sitting 0-5 to Immortals now, 2,000 gold up. This is not a position you want to be in when you're trying to close out a series and head to the grand finals.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes in. TSM onto the back foot. Immortals looking really good right now. You see T-Tigers waiting in the top side of the lane here. They do have the scout trap as well, so they got that vision control. They're playing it very nicely at this point. Von C and Best Chuck are down in the right Tribe Rush. They're going to move up as a team once again. We'll see if Von C wants to move in. Throw up that on-point connecting. Every time he lands that on point, it's an opportunity for him to trade there. But when you miss that Spitfire connects, it definitely puts you in a position where you're not looking to engage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can afford to take a few pokes from Spitfire here as well, because they do have the barrier from on point. Root lands.
Land on Zio, but T-Tigers, he's got the afterburn. Best Chuck blown up. Dragon's Breath from Zio. He winds it up. Von C, Rose defensive over the top. He wants Zio, but he stayed around too long. A second Rose offensive does nothing. Immortals now up 7-0. 11 minutes in. They're going to find the stun. Flash X is going to go down as well. Combat rolls back. Not enough. Double kill for T-Tigers.
And Fuji, what are they going to take off of this map?
They can take anything they want to, Humanist. They can go for the turret, they can go for the gold mine, they can clear out the front jungle camps. Everything is on the menu at this point. I mean, this is such a great play from T-Tigers. This is the counter gank opportunity that you want to look for. You don't always have to be the one to make the first move. You have to sometimes bait out the enemy movement, wait for them to dive on to your backline. And of course, Best Chuck, he's just not going to survive that amount of burst damage.
No way. There was no way he's going to survive that. And you saw, Vonsy felt like he had an opportunity. He jumps in there, he stayed around, he had a chance to actually disengage from that fight. So maybe just kind of overestimating his damage output in that moment.
Yeah, I think what happened was when he actually rose offensive through the enemy team, he saw the amount of damage Dienzio took from the rose offensive. It looked like he actually turned around, perhaps thinking, oh wait, I might be able to kill him. But of course, there's still enough lockdown to keep him from being able to do it cleanly.
Oh!
Where did you go?
Okay, Vonsy's dead. Flash X just on the run now. CL's just gonna clean him up here. I mean, yeah, Immortals down in this series, but who can say that they don't deserve another victory for themselves here? It looks like they're gonna be tying up the series at this rate. Best Chuck left for dead, shot down 11-0. Team SoloMid are getting rolled right now.
This Scarf, you're gonna have to ban it next game, TSM, if you cannot find a way to take care of it. Vonsy's playing with our emotions. He actually just disappeared.
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure if he was killed or if he just if he just
I just
went to a different dimension.
on you at this point. Like, I'm starting to lose it.
They literally pushed him into the alternate dimension, just instantly deleted. Not enough defense.
It's like if you had an ability that you just press the button. It's like, oh, this one kills him. Like we'll just target him down. He's dead.
Let's just take this guy out. But Max Green feeling confident here in the tri-bush, really making Immortals just have a certain approach to how they invade. Just they're able to sit back, they're able to clear, they're able to purchase their items, and Max Green just playing so far in the front, making sure vision is down, making sure he's using himself as kind of a mobile scout trap, just always keeping tabs on TSM.
He throws down the scout, but the flare out the backside. Flash wants to clear that out, moves forward. He's got the root there onto T-Tigers. Not the target they want. Stun out onto Max Green. Flash just trying to buy time to block off the first flash streamer. Vonsy's in. Dienzio dropping low. CO gets the fountain. They flipped it around. Vonsy's down one more time. Best Chuck's gonna fall. You get the fountain out. It should be just a matter of time. They switch their focus over to Flash X. Zeo just a Spitfire and a goop away from finding a kill here. Looks like they'll show some mercy to old Flash X, but it's Best Chuck on the backside playing games with T-Tigers. He's on the wrong side of the map here, Fuji.
Very much the wrong side of the map. It's not going to be easy for him to get out. He's either going to have to port home.
Oh, Take's going to cancel it?
Oh,
yeah,
there it
he
is.
moves in. He's got the Atlas Pauldron as well. I wanted to mention this item. It's actually super efficient for him in this game.
Yeah, very efficient.
They're actually keeping it around. Best Chuck goes down anyway. T-Tigers on a sliver of hell.
That simultaneous port home, both feeling really good. Hooking their arms together and say, let's go.
These guys are in the zone.
Our spoils. They are in the zone, and Voncy, he has got to get some defense. We can see the amount of damage he's capable of putting out. Dienzio with no armor and nothing in his item inventory that's going to allow him to build any armor means when Voncy gets to him, he potentially is going to just get eliminated. But right now, Voncy just dying so much quicker than Dienzio is on this Black Feather. So there's still hope if you're a TSM fan. Once these guys complete a few more items, their ability to get back into the game is there, but the Immortals, they want to shut this down. Kraken's on the map. If they take this, they have incredible pushing power. TSM does not have great objective damage with this composition.
All right, this is building to an insane moment right here. TSM moving forward. Kraken so close to being captured off at this point. The contest could come through. There's your Impale landing out. Max Green driving low. Voncy over the top side. Zio's got to kite back. Zio dropping low. The first is going to come out of Best Chuck. Connecting. They've traded 1 for 1. Now Max Green low. Flash is going to move forward. Impale kind of stuck on the wall there. This should be a Kraken. Well, I was going to say Kraken for TSM, but Tigers moving right back in. This is just a game of juggling right now. Neither team really wants to drop it. I mean, this is a huge objective if you could actually grab it. I wouldn't be surprised if they both just let it go, though.
That was the smartest decision TSM could have made in that moment. If they actually capture the Kraken, most likely they're only going to get 1, maybe 2 turrets with it. Not worth picking it up. If Immortals steals it, that could potentially be game over with Scarf coming back onto the map.
Tiggs on the flash against the wall. Flash finds a stun of his own. T-Tigers is just playing out of his mind right now. And I gotta say it again, this is the series of Glaive.
This is the series of Glaive, and Dienzio is wanting to also make it the series of Scarf. If they secure this, just putting another one into the books. We were talking about it before during the World's Championship last year. Dienzio pulled Scarf out twice against TSM to almost make a comeback in the finals. He loves this hero, and he knows it is a weakness for TSM.
Zio, such an incredible player on this Scarf. He really pushes it to its full limits. He's done a great job as far as positioning in these fights, and of course, Tiggs and Max Green doing so well to peel and protect the Scarf as well. The focus has been on Scarf every single fight. Von C rotating over the top with the Rose offensive. Now, right now, the Spitfires just continue to come down the pipe here, connecting about 50% of them. Zio, gotta be careful, bud. Moving forward to the front side. Flash is gonna land the impale. The Spitfire to move down into the choke point. Dangerous position. Flash is going to go down. Blast Shimmer connects. They've taken Von C out. Oh, they block off the second one, but I think Best Shot is probably going to go down here, my friend. And with that one, that will be the ace coming through for Immortals. Oh my goodness, Fuji.
Oh, wow, Humanist, this was not what you wanted. A bit of impatience coming out of TSM there. The Spitfires coming out, FlashX making the call to go in, but Dienzio, he was stacking up. TSM could have made the decision to just back off completely, circle around through the backside of their jungle, push out the wave. T-Tiger's gonna take it down this turret. Oh, or not.
See ya.
Just leave just enough left to help TSM realize how close they are to losing this match.
Feels bad, man.
Feels really bad now with the Kraken being captured. Scarf, Catherine on the front line. Only, well, I'd last 2 turrets technically left. A turret and a piece of hope left on the map there. But this is going to be a very tough defense. The only thing TSM can do right now is they literally have to fight on the map immediately. They've got to get out. They've got to go in for the team fight or it's game over.
All right, we're looking for flawless execution out of TSM here. They have to kill this Scarf. How's it going to play out? Moments away from dropping this game and sending us to game 5 here. Immortals moving forward, Spitfires coming out, T-Tigers and Max Green looking for an opening, looking for an engagement, playing it safe, exactly what they need to do. There you go, Fonzie Rose offensive over the top, he's low, round comes out, Zio dropping low, can they get in there? A nice Blast Shimmer connecting, Best Shot winds it up, they've got one traded, Best Shot dropping as well, the stun onto Tiggs right there, Fonzie gun in the Faint of Heart, they're taking him down, it looks like Immortals have done it, Fuji, Flash X, last remember remaining, they can't do it, Kraken and Tiggs are down, they've taken out the last turret, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to game 5 here. These teams are so incredibly well matched up. I can't believe what an amazing series this has been so far.
The question mark around Immortals when they came into the VGA from Challengers is that maybe they are the team to topple TSM, and they're here today on stage going to this best of 5 full series saying, yes, we can be that team.
What's crazy is that these teams are so evenly matched, and obviously because we're going to game 5. But this one felt so one-sided to Immortals. And just with the right draft and the right execution, you really can just crush your opponents. What a game. We're gonna take a break. With that, we'll throw it over to the analyst desk to break it down.
Thank you very much, Humanist. That Immortals close to getting a perfect game against TSM there. It was only in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game that TSM managed to get even a kill on the board. This was almost a masterclass from
Before we get into the game, Zio, all 3 games, has been ahead of Chuck, like at the 10-minute mark. 20 CS normally, and it's been amazing to see how well he's been last hitting versus Chuck. So it's interesting to see how that matchup works. But they played the early mid game extremely well. That Goop with Cath stun and Glaive combos were just insane.
Yeah, and while we want to talk about the CS difference, the fact that Zio was so far ahead was completely shutting down Von C as well. Because this Scarf had so much damage, every time Von C tried to go in onto any of these targets, he was just getting blown up right off the bat. Even though he had that durability with the Serpent's Mask and the on-point barriers, he just could not survive anywhere near long enough to get the amount of work done that Team SoloMid needed.
Yeah, and Catherine on Max, such a god. He actually like stopped that Fate of Heart from landing. That would have did execute damage. It does missing health damage. It would have killed Zeo properly. And he also did that last game against the Crow. He stunned the Crow to Dead Man's Rush, so it doesn't land on Zeo. The mechanical talent of this entire team from both sides was just insane. I feel like TSM maybe were nervous or anxious because they did a few plays that wasn't reflective of how they play. Because Flash would go in, get caught out, or Von C would overextend, and Chuck wouldn't be able to follow up like we saw in the last fight. It was very interesting to see TSM play that way because that's not normally their playstyle.
Yeah, and maybe TSM feeling a little bit rattled on the stage right now. I mean, certainly in a game like this when the enemy team is so far ahead, it's very difficult to keep yourself calm on stage, keep yourself in a good mental state because, I mean, when you're at a 10-0 scoreline in a game at 12 minutes in, it's very difficult to see the future where you come back in.
Yeah, and it seemed like Team SoloMid kind of went back to almost an older version of Team SoloMid. Still an incredibly strong team, but more just flat-out aggression without having that control level of aggression of choosing when to go all in. Instead, they seem to be trying to force fights, trying to go all in, and getting themselves separated from each other and allowing Immortals to just pick them off one at a time.
Yeah, and one thing about Immortals is their early game is so strong. They've been winning against TSM every early game, and Blackfeather is actually pretty weak early game, so they completely abused that power spike with Glaive Catherine onto that Blackfeather.
Yeah, and then it got to a point when we got into the late game where they were already so far ahead. It was so difficult for TSM to have any real impact on the game. They almost did manage to come back towards the later stages, though.
Yeah, they got a little bit of momentum. They were able to find a kill on the Scarf there, nearly got the Kraken, but just didn't want to
Look at that reflex block by Zeo, blocking the Githyan wall stun. Just amazing. And it was just like Flash, if he landed Githyan wall stun, maybe the fight didn't, but Tiger's actually afterburn onto Chuck, and Atlas the entire, like both Blackfeather and Adagio that fight. Like Catherine didn't have to use a Crucible or a Fountain that fight for them to win it.
And then you can see here, this is kind of the final push for Immortals. They got that Kraken and they could kind of take this one on home after one final team fight.
Yeah, they'd gotten themselves a lot of work done on the turrets previously by T-Tigers, and then able to, again, get these fights, blocking the Githyan walls. This happened so frequently where Scarf just was not getting stunned. Even though Flash was getting into the positions needed to land stuns, the reflex blocks were coming through perfectly timed for Immortals.
Look at that stun, beautiful. And actually, Max actually, I don't know why, item silenced Von C for whatever reason, and he blocked it with his Blackfeather ultimate, Rose Offensive. And then they ended the game. It was a beautiful play by both Max Green and Tigers here to wrap it up. But you can see when they kite and protect Zeo, instead of splitting their focus, IMT just does so much better. And that's exactly how they need to play going forward to beat TSM here.
So now, looking from TSM's perspective, I mean, from the perspective of fans of TSM or Immortals, I think even if you're a TSM fan, you're probably happy to see them lose in that situation just so we get another game in this series, because this has been incredible. But now, what do TSM need to shore up to avoid that same fate happening again? Because that is not a pretty sight if you're a TSM fan.
If you're going to allow the Scarf through, you need to draft something that can deal with the Scarf, especially in the early game. I feel like that was a big shortcoming of this draft. The draft didn't cost them the game, but it didn't do themselves any favors.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in this final game, in Game 5 of this series, I want you guys at home to keep your eyes on this jungle matchup. Von C going toe-to-toe with T-Tigers. Yesterday, we were saying how T-Tigers wasn't quite being the star player of his roster, but Von C was definitely leading the charge for TSM. Now, in this series, it's kind of been in the hands of D'Enzio for the likes of Immortals, but Von C has been the focus still for TSM. We saw the double sustain composition all revolving around Von C. He's been kind of the driving force for this team.
Yeah, he has, and they built, look, it looks like they built their composition just around Von C's aggression, like Blackfeather, Cruel, heroes that are able to get onto Zeo and force a quick kill. And I think TSM need to continue that strategy, but they got to execute it because they're not on the same page. Bonsi would go in alone, and Chuck is not following up with any damage. So I feel like they really need to talk and shore that up.
And especially in that last game, it was so crucial that T-Tigers was able to go toe-to-toe with Bonsi, was able to take control of the jungle and not allow him to snowball, not allow him to control any of the other game.
And you can see just the difference in the demeanors on these players' faces. I mean, both teams are still talking, are still communicating. That's always excellent to see. Sometimes you'll see a team, get pushed to the limit, and then
if
they
they
just
go
all
quiet,
fall silent.
it's dangerous territory.
But still, you see on the side of Immortals smiling, laughing. On the side of Team SoloMid, it is much more serious, much more focused now, because they know they do not want to be knocked out away from before the finals for a second consecutive championship.
Certainly not. And, this is very reminiscent of what happened last time around. It was a full 5-game series between TSM and Cloud9. Cloud9 went through into the finals, and TSM were left in their wake. They're in yet another 5-game series in a semi-final, and we'll see whether TSM are going to be able to make it through this time. Scarf going to be banned away, Catherine to follow, and then Krull locked in for Bonsi.
That's a good job because Grace counters Krull pretty well. So go ahead and take the Grace here and then ban away the Adagio from the side of TSM, or just ban away Celeste, or take it actually. So ban away Adagio or Celeste and take one of them. I feel what Immortals should do. And Grace is actually really strong with Adagio, so maybe they can take the Grace and then ban away the Celeste and then pick up the Adagio here.
Either way, they're going to have to take one of those healers off the board. There's technically now 3 available, Lyra, Grace, and Adagio. You cannot let Team SoloMid get their hands on 2 of them. So excellent job taking the Lyra here.
They have to ban Grace here. With Lyra picked up, they should ban the Grace, which gives TSM quite a few options now with Adagio and Celeste.
And they don't even really have to ban the Grace, because there is that potential that they could pick up the Grace and do their own double healing composition with something like a Glaive. Like there is a possibility of it, but it wouldn't have been common, it wouldn't have been expected, but it's not going to happen.
I mean, we could see them pick up the Adagio and do double heal composition that way around. Obviously, Krull is off the board, but there are other targets that would fulfill that role.
Yeah, and I think what Immortals is going for here is either a Kestrel with a Samuel or a Samuel with a Vox, and that's going to completely counter the Krull, because Krull is not that good into a Vox and a Kestrel that can quickly jump away or active cam away. So they're going to ban away the Samuel, and that's really smart from TSM, because Samuel, Lyra is really good into that Krull. Now the Immortals can pick Petal though, so they just save that pick for last and just take away a key laner. So I think Vox may be good here, but that's going to give TSM Adagio with Lance. So they're going to take Adagio away from TSM.
All right, Adagio locked in for Dienzio. We saw him going on an absolute tear in day 1 on this Adagio. We'll see whether he can bring that same level of performance here in the 5th game of this series. Now TSM, they've got a double pick on their hands.
Yeah, they're going to have to make sure they get something ranged, because you don't want to run a double melee focused composition into an Adagio Lyra, because then the 3rd pick can be something that just can sit and tank up with those double healers and brutalize against a double melee. There are options available, so I would expect something ranged. Celeste could come out. We could see the Idris. We could see something like the Vox. There's a lot of different ways Team SoloMid can go with this.
Yeah, they're probably going to go with Idris, honestly. Idris, Krull, and like Lance or something, or Arden would be pretty solid on the side of TSM. Actually go with Celeste and Lance here. For sure it's going to be Celeste, Lance, and Krull, because this is what they played against Dynasty yesterday, and were very successful with it.
Definitely a very solid composition. Some of the top tier heroes in each of their respective roles, but the same can be said from what Immortals have so far. Now, how do you finish off this composition? Where do you go from here with Immortals?
Glaive would still work, but however, it's a little risky. They can't really do Petal. It'd be double CP, and Petal wouldn't be that strong. So, Black Feather's picked up.
All right, so the Black Feather going to come on through. Von C played it last game. We'll see how T-Tigers is going to fare on that pick. Or maybe it goes up into the lane. I struggle to see a world where Jungle Adagio is going to be the option for them. But now, looking at these compositions for this final game in the best of 5, how are they going to have to play this one out, Bacon?
I think Team SoloMid has an advantage with their draft here, because the Black Feather, the whole point of the Black Feather is to get onto the backlines, onto that Celeste. But Lance and Krull can protect Celeste so incredibly well. As soon as Black Feather goes in, he is going to be focused down
Don't forget about the Lyra. Lyra can portal onto Celeste, Bulwark, and they can just blow the Celeste up.
We'll see whether they can get those portals in. It's time to jump into game number 5. Ladies and gentlemen, TSM Immortals, first semi-final. Let's do this.
It all comes down to this one game right here. Winner goes on to the finals. It is such a tense moment, Fuji.
I'm so excited.
So excited. I'm freaking out, man.
It's going to be crazy. I mean, these are two of the best teams I could think of to be in a full best of 5. Can't wait to get into this Humanist. They're going to rock the
crowd
house.
hyped up. We got some TSM fans down there, some Immortal fans as well. And of course, everybody excited to see exactly how this one's going to play out. I think incredibly strong drafts on both sides here.
Yeah, I mean, each side has a significant thing they want to do to try to take the victory. But what I want to applaud most first as we kick this off is TSM's ability to recognize the threat of Scarf and take it out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that you've talked about a lot in the past. When somebody is winning with a hero, whether or not it makes sense, whether it's strong in the meta, you ban it out.
Yeah, just get rid of the hero, get rid of the momentum that they have on that pick. But I like the TSM composition in terms of what Celeste is going to be able to do. Yes, Blackfeather is going to want to get to the backline, but Kroll, Lance, 2 really good heroes at peeling for a carry like Celeste.
So as far as this lane matchup, now we saw Adagio into the Scarf. Now we got the Celeste into the Adagio. How does that play out?
Adagio doesn't like Mage's Humanist.
Is that how it works?
He's not a fan of the pokey poke. He doesn't like
the hokey pokey?
The pokey pokey. He just can't get into range to auto attack. And there's a period of time ago as well where Adagio's auto attack range was also reduced a number of updates back, so he doesn't quite have the same type of advantage as he used to. And in these types of matchups, when you got a Celeste or a Scarf or whoever on the other side, when you have that poke advantage, a lot of times Adagio just cannot get into position to be able to do the damage he needs.
I mean, based off that analysis, I'm feeling like Immortals need to secure this early game. The Adagio does have advantage over Celeste in the early levels here. I mean, he's got the energy regeneration. As long as he's applying that Gift of Fire, burning those minions down, applying damage there. So Best Chuck could be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and it's the combination, right? It's the Adagio, Lyra in lane. Very, very tough combination to deal with if you don't have sustain yourself, because they're going to be able to just put the pressure on and drop down like we see now. Von C in a tough spot.
Bright works down. He's getting empowered up here in the brush. TSM dropping out. 3-man get you up from Flash. Von C in there with the weakness stack down. T-Tiger's trying to find the kill. The on point. He's got it. The barrier just enough. They will trade it 1-for-1. Tiggs doing such an incredible job there.
I mean, Von C was completely caught out, but Flash X made the 1-for-1 trade. That was basically the best case scenario for TSM, was to at least pick up a kill as well. So mad props. Flash X being able to get in the right position for that Githian wall to go down. But we have to question once again, this is a bit of a fault for TSM early on in the series when Immortals is getting the lane pressure, when they're able to rotate down through the lane. Either Von C is not actually seeing this rotation, or perhaps the communication's lacking, because he's always in a bad spot near that tri-bush.
Well, I think Von C also just trying to make sure that he's taking as much off the map as he can as far as resources. Now, Von C doing pretty good thus far. He's level 4, 3 minutes in. Same thing for T-Tigers across the map, so no real big advantages building up here. Acute Impale coming out of Flash. T-Tigers hitting with the on point, moving backwards.
Von C just spent a little time on top of the scout trap there. But now that that scout trap is cleared out, it does open up some good opportunities for TSM. We'll have to see if Max or Green can make it back. Drop the vision.
Best Chuck, you're in a bad place. The Githian wall knocks him out of the core collapse. Best Chuck, he hops on the broomstick, moving backwards, burning down with that arcane fire. Flash X should be able to get out here as well. Fate of Heart moving forward. T-Tigers, full broken heart stacks. He'll get stunned up, and the aggression canceled off. But you can see that Immortals really finding a lot of openings here early on.
Yeah, Immortals actually, if they would have been a little bit more proactive, instead of chasing the damage on Flash X, recognize the fact that you can't kill him, but they just don't really know the timings on the back. They're going to get the front, but they could have maximized this, actually did a full-on invade on Von C and got a much more significant advantage. But they take a safe route. They take the fact that they know the front train is going to be respawning soon. They'll just collect that and call it a day.
I mean, it's also nice that they were able to grab it. T-Tigers will have the timing of that spawn now. T-Tigers dodging out the impale, moving backwards, nice movement speed boost, plus the healing coming out of the sigil. So important to get him out of that situation.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a good opportunity for Flash X to perhaps mix up his ability usage. A little Githian first would have locked him down, but heads up for T-Tigers. Do a little sidestep there on the impale. Tell T-Tigers been on the running man track.
Just a little bit. Impale comes out, dodged out by Max. He saw that coming a mile away. Flash, take a little bit of damage there. He's looking pretty tanky though.
Yeah, he's got his fountain available to him, so does Max Green. Boot cooldowns not available for the captains, however, nor the carries, but the junglers, they have their boots ready. Level 6 for T-Tigers. He's going to continue to take away this front camp. It's going to elevate his ability to get to these mid-game and late-game power spikes. So TSM really needs to start taking control of this jungle. This is not a composition you can afford to fall behind.
Vonsi, dead man's rush for it. Impale lands onto 2. Flash, go ahead and knock Tigers back there. Now the chase is on. They're back onto Flash. Rose offensive over the top. It's good damage coming out of Zeo as well. He's slowed up with the attacks coming out of Max Green. They're able to take him down. T-Tigers will find that kill, putting Immortals up 2-1.
It looked a little bit to me like FlashX kind of baited himself. Like once he saw the double Impale root go down, he could have backed up, but he went back to get the Githian stun, but there was no follow-up from his team. If Vonsi was ready to go in and follow up on that, if Bestchuck was there to be able to put down the damage, then perhaps that would work, but the Githian stun not quite netting them anything. Instead, it goes in the reverse. Immortals gets another kill and continues to increase this lead. It is marginal. It's not huge, 500 gold, but still something.
Yeah, I think that's a really good analysis. I actually was a little bit baited in there as well. I mean, whenever you see a double Impale, a double Githian wall or anything like that, you expect that someone's going to get taken out. Flash hanging around getting punished for it. I would expect him not to make that mistake again.
Yeah, and perhaps it's just a bit of a emotional strain. He missed a couple of Impales earlier when he finally lands the one he wants to get.
Tiggs jumps in, faint hard, Rose offensive on point, connecting Tiggs, hitting every ability that he's throwing out right now. This guy's in the zone, he's under the turret. Vonsi moving up, right bulwark down for Max Green. So much damage piling up from Immortals as they start to apply pressure onto the first turret here for TSM. And D'Enzio's just pretty much doing what he wants. He's just letting T-Tigers and Max Green play games with these guys. And he's just sitting on the backside, dropping his heals, buffing himself up, and applying damage.
Yeah, I mean, this part of the game of Immortals is super strong. They have 2 heals. You don't have the same sustain TSM, so you have to be wiser about your engages here. This pressure on the turret, just chipping away. The damage going down. Immortals could stay if they wanted to. They might continue to look for rotation opportunities in the jungle. The world is their oyster here in this game as they now have increased the 500 to a 1,000 gold lead. That's what you got to do if you want to take it home.
T-Tigers playing games. He's going to jump in one more time. Dodges out the core collapse. He'll get knocked back. Solar Storm taking Max low. But Tigers! T-Tigers is a monster. From Elside will connect. Max is low. The first. Danger, danger. Vonsi, get out of here, buddy. Too much healing. You're in too deep. He's down. Immortals really taking a serious advantage in this game 5.
There was an earlier moment, we talked about it in this series, if your turret is under siege, you cannot afford to send your jungler into the jungle. I mean, you can't farm. You gotta protect your turret. That's 2 down. We're 8 minutes in the game. We were 1,000 gold ahead on Immortals just a moment ago. That has jumped wildly into the lead.
I mean, I think some people thought that a lot of the pros, a lot of the analysts were exaggerating when they said that Immortals were the real deal coming into this tournament. I think everybody realizing how talented this team really is. And Zeo, this guy, a past champion. T-Tigers as well. Max Green, just the prodigy filling in around the edges and bringing some of that new blood to this team. This is such an incredible team as far as all the components that they've brought together here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this team is showing exactly what it takes to be able to push TSM to the limits. The team that we all thought would be the favorites to take this home is now fighting for their life with a deficit in the gold, a deficit in the objectives, and a deficit in the map pressure. They are fighting from behind here, Humanist, and they need to really clean up this play. A lot of the focus, a lot of the over-aggression coming from Vonsi, just not able to sync it up. This is perhaps the most de-synergized I think we've ever seen TSM in a championship scenario.
Except for Worlds. Let's see how this is actually going to play out here. Impale coming out, not on the mark. T-Tigers, he's in. Rose offensive over the top. It's Vonsi. A boomerang from Hell's Heart will come back. I actually blocked off, I do believe there. T-Tigers is in executing Bestchuck. Vonsi dropping low as well. Immortals take 2. The Crystal Sentry hammering away. T-Tigers will go down to an Impale from Flash. Combat roll back in. Crystal Sentry drops. Zeo moving forward with Max Green. Flash uses his boots to get out of there. This is a bloodbath.
TSM, you're win condition for this game was not to continue to pick fights, it was to scale your Celeste, and that's what they need to do. You can see all they should be doing here is trying to secure this Treant and get out of there, but T-Tiger says, no, we want to fight, we want to engage. Amazing reflex block there to keep the maximum stun potential of Hell's Heart from happening. Of course, good guy Crystal Sentry and Scout Trap doing a little bit of work, so TSM is able to get some back here from that invade. But once again, Best Chuck, he has an Eve, he has a Frostburn, but that's all he has currently. This is not enough damage to be able to combat the dive potential coming out of Immortals in this double heal.
All right, so let's play this game again, Fuji. You're now FlashX, you're in this game. I know the idea of what you're talking about is just hanging back and trying to scale, but what do you tell your team here?
You just have to tell your team to stay focused. I mean, this is not the moment to lose your edge. You still have your choke point turret up. Celeste defends incredibly well at this portion of the map. There's a lot of choke points just in general coming from the jungle, coming into the base. Fonzie, he's got to get tanked up. We need to see an Atlas to be able to shut down some of the potential auto attack damage from T-Tigers. And of course, Flash really wanting to make sure he lands those Githians to protect Celeste. But it's just a patient game now that they need to play. They need to hold on another 4 minutes before Kraken spawns. That should be the moment where they should be aiming to teamfight.
I want to see the percentage. Oh, hold that out. T-Tigers, he's on to Von C. DNZO moving forward, buffs him up, throws out that burst judgment. T-Tigers and crew takes down Von C, looking for more. The Arcane Passage disrupts the fight, but Best Chuck has fallen as well. Flash X will go down. A double kill for T-Tigers and Immortals, knocking on the base of Team SoloMid. 11 minutes into this one, Fuji.
11.5 minutes, the choke point turret is down, and guess who's not on the map? Scarf. We thought maybe banning Scarf would be the answer. TSM was like, let's get rid of the one hero. DNZO is playing so well. And then in the final game of the series, T-Tigers comes online like we have not seen him before. This is incredible gameplay coming from Immortals, pushing TSM all the way to the edge.
TSM, they really cannot afford to make any more mistakes in this game. If Immortals take 2 of them down, they will be taking Vayne Crystal turrets out. You're getting closer and closer to Kraken spawning on the map. There are more and more options available. Tiggs, I was going to say, I want to see the percentage of how many on points he's actually connected with in this game. It feels like it's 90% of the on points actually landing. That means he's able to trade so much more efficiently through all of these fights. Now, there's going to be the root actually out. T-Tigers, he's in deep again. Fonzie, a lot of weakness stacks, but they switched it over. It's on to Best Chuck. A nice getting involved from Flash X to disrupt. T-Tigers over the top, Best Chuck's dropped down. It looks such a good job from Immortal. They engage, they move back with the move speed. Central down, they get the heal. They've lost Von C. It's Flash X back. The portal from Max Green, so great in this fight. Immortals, seemingly flawless play against one of the best teams in this world right now. They have the lane minions. If they can do this, they can close this game out and go to the finals. But right now, they are going to show the patience of one of the best teams out here right now and pull back. 1 turret remaining for TSM.
When you have an 8,000 gold lead, you have 1 turret remaining. You don't have to risk it. Immortals learning their lesson from earlier in the series where they pushed too hard, threw too much in the base, were not able to close out the game, and it backfired on them. This time, they're playing calm, they're playing collected. I like what I'm seeing here from this team. TSM, we talked about what do you need to do? We need to play the patient game. We need to wait for Best Chuck to scale. TSM is not doing this. This is allowing continual opportunities for Immortals to get a lead. Sarblade, Serpent Shiv. It's one of these things where we're looking at the items on T-Tigers and we're saying if he gets to Celeste this Eve, it's just not going to do what he wants.
In every single fight, he is getting to the Celeste. He's using Rose Offensive, Feign of Heart. His mobility by himself is insane, but Max Green is throwing the sigils down. Max Green has War Treads, plus the Arcane Passage. There you go, Arcane Passage in. Right forward, Core Collapse off the mark. Everybody takes a wild ride through the Arcane Passage. They're on to Best Chuck one more time. This is exactly what we're talking about. It's Best Chuck, but Von C, they switch over the target, take down the Crow, take down the Celeste. Immortals destroying Team SoloMid here in Game 5. These guys
want to go to the finals. They are so deserving after this performance. What can FlashX do? He's doing everything that he actually can. Immortals onto the Vein Crystal. They have done it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Team SoloMid Slayers. Stand on your feet if you believe that Immortals deserve it. I have never seen plays like this. I am so impressed with this team right now, Fuji. How good are they feeling right now?
They have to be completely elated. They not only take it to the full series, but they got stronger and stronger as the series went on. Some people lose energy. Some people might get weaker in the momentum. They did not.
The weaker my voice got, the stronger Immortals seem to be in these games.
Raise your dongers, send me your energy. This is what Immortals says to everyone out there. What an incredible series. Some of the best games we've seen today.
So good. So good.
Vainglory.
This is why I love competitive Vainglory. Just an absolute treat.
An absolute treat indeed.
We see very good sportsmanship across the board here. FlashX, you got to take a moment. All the work these guys that they put in to get here, you know they had confidence. You just can't deal with a team like this.
Yeah, I mean, you just see the growth. I mean, these are some players that have been in the scene since the very beginning. I mean, this is multiple years of fine-tuning their play and stepping up. And Max Green coming on to Immortals, making such an insane difference. This guy was just an absolute playmaker for the entire series.
Well, Fuji, I do appreciate your analysis. But to break this one down a little bit more, let's go ahead and throw this over to Munchables at the desk.
You can see how happy the Immortals players are. They have done it. They came into the season in the challenge battles. They were heralded as the TSM Slayers, and they have finally stepped up in this semi-final and proved that that title was absolutely correct.
Yeah, taking down Team SoloMid, the #1 seed in North America, has fallen by the hands of Immortals, and what a showing from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely exceptional play, and it felt like the longer the series went on, the more momentum Immortals got.
And I knew, and when Tigers showed up, that no team can beat them. I mean, Tigers carried that game so hard, along with Zio and, of course, Max Green. But wow, seeing T-Tigers come out of his shell, compared to how he played yesterday, was pretty phenomenal. And the last two games, I mean, Immortals were just so confident, so dominant. I mean, they just like went Super Saiyan and just took these games from TSM in the last two games.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of these early game fights, because this is where it all started for Immortals.
Yeah, it was right off the bat again. Dienzio getting a lead in the lane, which allows the rest of the team to make these aggressive rotations and these aggressive moves into the enemy jungle freely because they have this advantage already.
Yeah, this is exactly what I taught. They focus whoever's out of position. So Flash out of position, they focus. But Tigers, with his mechanics, he dodges everything. Crow stun, Celeste core collapse. He just uses that Rose offensive so expertly to not get hit by CC as a Black Feather. And that's how you play Black Feather. Just brilliant by T-Tigers.
Yeah, just superb play across the board. And we said T-Tigers, he was the guy to watch coming into this series. He had to match Vonsi. He had to go toe-to-toe with one of the world's very best junglers, and he absolutely did in this game.
Yeah, really great stuff from T-Tigers. And, you know, Vonsi not quite getting the effect on this Kroll that they needed. A lot of these from Hell's Hearts, the vast majority of them, ended up hitting the Lyra. That is not the target that you want. You know, some of the credit for that has to go to Max Green to put himself into position to block a lot of these ultimates.
And also his build, I don't know why he got Shiver Steel. Again, it's a double heal composition. Poison Shiv is what counters it. You have to build a Poison Shiv. He should have rushed a Poison Shiv and got a Tension Bow potentially, but the Shiver Steel just basically did nothing, because that is an engage comp. A Black Feather and Dodger want to engage onto you, not the opposite. So they needed to have Poison Shiv. IMT made that mistake, and then TSM made the same mistake IMT did against a double heal composition.
Yeah, you have to wonder how much better this Immortals team can get, because every time we talk about how great this team is, they seem to find another level, another gear to kick it into. If you watch just those last two games of this series, you wonder how this even went to 5 games, because they dominated Team SoloMid in games 4 and 5.
Yeah, let's take a look at how this game kind of finished up, how Immortals were able to turn this lead into a victory.
Yeah, that was a beautiful engage by T-Tigers there. They focus and get Vonsi solo. He eats the ultimate, and then they switch the focus onto the Celeste. He actually does a Rose offensive through the Celeste ultimate. and it was able to secure the kill on Chuck. And Chuck just
Gold up.
keep and look at it. This is beautiful here. They wait for the core collapse and then they go through the portal. And look at how he uses the roll fences to stick onto Celeste, dodge the ultimate. And it was beautiful plays by T-Tigers and Zeo for sure. And that execute damage is so good on Blackbird. The Feint of Heart does 20% missing health damage with a 20% weapon ratio. So with the Sword Blade and the Poison Shiv, that's another about 30 or 40% missing health damage added to the already base damage.
And you want to talk about finishing in style? How about a sub 15-minute close? I think it may have ticked over the 15-minute mark as they were taking down the crystal, but not even needing the Kraken, being in the base, destroying the Vein Crystal at the 15-minute mark. That is so impressive.
And you know what? T-Tigers had an exceptional game in that final one, but D'Enzio has had not just an exceptional series, he's had an exceptional weekend so far. This man has stepped up to a level that we have yet to see from him this season, and every single game he seems to get better.
Totally, and Tigers is also my MVP. There's two MVPs this game, but definitely Zeo carried and deserved it. They both played phenomenally well along with Max Green.
Yeah, for the entire series, D'Enzio, you mentioned it before, every single game, D'Enzio had a lead in CS in the lane. D'Enzio outlaned Best Chuck through and through
it was
this
amazing.
series. He drew multiple bans. Like, if you had said at the beginning of this weekend that Scarf and Adagio would be bans that got targeted, I'd think, okay, it must be everyone playing them. It's D'Enzio that is playing them and drawing out these bans by himself.
And I said many times, Zeo is probably the best laner on the live stage, and I stay by my word, and Tigers as well, probably one of the best players, and they definitely have proven some of that today.
Do you know what? You mentioned that D'Enzio is one of the best laners on the live stage. He's also one of the best interviewees on the live stage. I want to see how he's feeling now that he's heading on into our grand finals.
I'm interviewing this guy so much, I need his autograph soon, just because he's becoming a celebrity now in Vainglory. D'Enzio, I mean, we spoke earlier. You knew this was a possibility of getting to the final, but this must feel amazing for you.
You know, it definitely feels amazing because in Worlds, we lost game 5, and it went to a 5th game, and you know what, like, it was really heartbreaking, and now, like, being able to not only beat TSM now for myself, but also for my former teammates.
Perfect words, and you and your team are synergizing so well, but would you say that whole series was won in the draft, or was it won with mechanical skill? How did you see it play out?
So in the beginning, honestly, like, TSM just doesn't know how to play against Scarf. I bet, like, no one knows, because if I played against Scarf, I wouldn't know how to play against it either. And then in the next 2 games, TSM's drafts were just insane. They pretty much outdrafted us, and they just outplayed us completely. And then for the next games, we decided to do pretty much their draft against them, and they got baited into Celeste from banning Scarf.
And you say about Scarf being so powerful and you're playing so well with them, but do you think that's going to go against you in the final now that they've seen how well you're playing on Scarf? Is this just going to be insta-ban Scarf from your opposition?
Scarf will never go against me.
Maybe Scarf won't. All right, so who do you think you'll be facing in the final? Of course, Nova versus Cloud9 coming up next. Is there any preference as to who you'd like to be facing?
You know what? I think that Cloud9's probably the better team. They also proved it throughout the Vainglory 8. But Nova, they've been playing really well, and I think as long as they don't troll, they don't do anything weird, then they could beat C9. They could take games off C9, but I really think C9 will win. But for preference, I'd probably want to play against Nova, but for glory, I would love to verse C9.
Everyone loves a bit of Vainglory. Yeah, got there. So hopefully, or maybe, the next time I see you on this stage, you could be lifting a trophy. Can you guys go on to win the whole thing?
You know what? I think from whoever from this series and us can win the championship, but I think right now we're very hyped. We're riding a huge momentum lead. As long as we don't tilt, I think I'm going to be picking up the trophies with my teammates.
Well, best of luck at not tilting. Back over to Munchables and the rest of the guys on the desk.
Bravo, D'Enzio. Deserved MVP of this series, and he's confident going on into the finals. Cannot wait to see how he performs later on, and I cannot wait to see who he's going to be going up against as well.